Welcome. Welcome to the regular Board of Education meeting and annual organization meeting, Folsom Cordova Unified School District on 12/16/2021. We're coming back out of closed session. We're officially back into the open session and call to order, please.
Yes, Mr. Short?
Here.
Mr. Reed?
Here.
Mr. Hoover?
Here.
Mr. Clark?
Here.
Mr. Hui?
Here.
Ms. Gao? Here. All are accounted for.
I guess at this point, we were asking for any public comment relative to...
Mr. President?
Yes.
We might want to start off with the
Pledge, sorry. Let's go ahead. Let's see. Who do we want to do the pledge? Anybody in volunteers? Okay,
Sure.
there we go. There we go.
Right.
Volunteers.
Everyone please rise. Hand over heart. Ready, begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Sean. All right, I got two agendas here. That's what's going on here. Yes, let's go to the broadcast statement. This is a long statement, so bear with us. Where is it? Got a different layout here. Oh, it's way over here now. It's in the back. Okay. A broadcast and recording is being made at the direction of the board, and the broadcast may capture images and sounds of those attending the meeting. The meeting is being live streamed on the district's YouTube channel. The public's health and well-being are the top priority of the Board of Trustees of Folsom Cordova Unified School District, and you are urged to take all appropriate health and safety precautions. Folsom Cordova Unified School District Board Policy 1313 promotes mutual respect, civility, and orderly conduct among employees, parents, and the public. We will treat staff, parents, and members of the public with respect and expect the same in return. If any member of the public uses obscenities or communicates in a demanding, loud, insulting, and/or demeaning manner, the board will calmly and politely admonish the person to communicate civilly. Written comments were accepted until 3 p.m. today. These comments were emailed to the board prior to the board meeting for review and will not be read out loud during the meeting. At the direction of the board, the superintendent will call a roll call, and as long as the board received all electronic comments submitted at 3 p.m. today as it pertains to today's board meeting. Superintendent?
Mr. Short?
Yes.
Mr. Reed?
Aye.
Mr. Hoover?
Aye.
Mr. Clark?
Aye.
Mr. Hui?
Aye.
Ms. Gao? Aye. Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you. Statement of face coverings. As a reminder, in addition to the state health order and corresponding face covering guidance, the Sacramento County Department of Public Health local order issued only on July 29th remains in place, requiring face coverings in all indoor public meetings and workplaces, including school settings. Copies of the county's health order are available for anyone who wishes to review during this meeting. Folsom Cordova Unified School District requires all in-person attendees at board meetings to wear face coverings regardless of vaccine status. For those who do not have a mask, one will be provided for you. In accordance with the advice of the legal counsel for the district and the most current orders by the California Department of Public Health and the County of Sacramento health officers, please be advised that this board is legally required to ensure that all attendees, regardless of vaccination status, except individuals who are specifically exempted pursuant to the CDPH mandate, wear face coverings while attending this meeting in person. The only exemptions are as follows. Persons younger than 2 years old, persons with medical conditions, mental health conditions, or disability that prevents wearing a mask, persons who are hearing impaired or communicating with a person who is hearing impaired, where the ability to see the mouth is essential for communication. Persons unable to wear a face covering based on medical or mental health exemptions may be subject to a request for verification. In addition, persons exempted from wearing a face mask due to the medical or mental condition must wear a non-restrictive alternative, such as a face shield with a drape on the bottom edge, as long as their condition permits it. The district does allow members of the public to attend the board meetings in a virtual format, which is described on the district's website at Folsom Cordova Unified School District.org. Thank you for that. Now we'll go back to the Reporting out to closed session, Superintendent.
Yes, tonight we have action to report out under conference with legal counsel, anticipated litigation for significant exposure. One potential case, receipt of a tort claim for wages. The board voted unanimously to pass a resolution to reject the claim brought pursuant to the Torts Claim Act and to give the claimant notice of the denial. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to organizational matters, item 6. At this point, the elections of officers of 2022, item A, is going to be next. We explained that the vice president and clerk will open the nominations for president, and then we go from there, and we'll transfer the presidency once it's elected, and then we're going to have a little break, and then we'll change chairs, whoever that person is. So with that said, I would think at this point, Mr. Vice President.
All right, thank you. All right, we will be opening nominations in the following order: 1 for president, 2nd for vice president, 3rd for clerk, and 4th for board representative to Sacramento County Board of Education. So we'll open nominations for the position of president.
Mr. Vice President,
Yes.
I'd like to nominate David Reed for the position of president.
All right, thank you. Seconds are not required for nominations. Are there any other nominations? Hearing none, I'll close the nominations for president. Superintendent, will you call the vote?
Yes. Mr. Short?
Yes.
Mr. Reed?
Yes.
Mr. Hoover?
Aye.
Mr. Clark?
Aye.
Mr. Hui?
Aye.
Ms. Gao?
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. Congratulations, Mr. President.
Thank you. All right, the next position is for vice president. Opening the nominations for vice president.
Vice President.
I mean, president now. And I nominate Chris Clark.
All right, we have 1 nomination for Chris Clark. Is there any other nominations for vice president?
Yeah, Vice President, I'll nominate Josh Hoover.
Okay, I got a nomination, a second nomination for Joshua Hoover. Are there any other nominations? All right, hearing none, we will close the nominations. I guess on the vote, you will have to indicate the individual that you're voting for. So, Superintendent, will you call the vote?
Yes. Mr. Short?
Yes, for Mr. Clark.
Mr. Reed?
Yes for Mr. Hoover.
Mr. Hoover?
Yes, for Mr. Hoover.
Mr. Clark?
Yes for Mr. Hoover.
Mr. Hui?
Yes, for Mr. Hoover.
Ms. Gao?
Yes for Mr. Hoover.
Okay. Motion carries to appoint Mr. Hoover as vice president.
Okay,
Congratulations.
All right, the next position is for clerk. I'm opening the nominations. Are there any nominations?
I'm sorry, I will nominate Mr. Clark.
Okay, we have a nomination for Mr. Clark. Are there any other nominations? Hearing none, we will close the nominations. Superintendent, will you take the roll?
Mr. Short?
Yes.
Mr. Reed?
Aye.
Mr. Hoover?
Aye.
Mr. Clark?
Aye.
Mr. Hui?
Aye.
Ms. Gao?
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. Congratulations, Mr. Clark.
Okay. Yeah, thank you.
And finally, we'll open the nominations for board representative to Sacramento County Board of Education. Are there any nominations?
Any nomination? Nobody wants to take that?
I'll take it if the nomination is open.
I'll nominate Mr. Clark.
All right. Any other nominations? Hearing none, we will close the nominations. Superintendent, will you take the roll?
Yes. Mr. Short?
Yes.
Mr. Reed?
Aye.
Mr. Hoover?
Aye.
Mr. Clark?
Aye.
Mr. Hui?
Aye.
Ms. Gao?
Aye.
Motion carries for Mr. Clark.
All right, thank you very much.
Okay.
At this point, we are going to take a very brief break. We're going to have a photo and switch seats. So, actually, let's see.
And may
here.
I read this plaque?
Oh,
Mr.
please
Reed?
do, please do.
So on behalf of the board and our staff, we are Very much an appreciation for Mr. Ed Short and the role he has had this past year as the 2021 Board President, for your dedicated services to the students and staff of the Folsom Cordova Unified School District. Thank you, Mr. Short, for all you've done in this past year.
My third one.
And I think
Actually,
we're
we're
going to
gonna
take
get-
a moment for a
Oh,
photo
okay.
op.
Yeah,
Do we want to go down there?
yes.
All right.
All the board.
Okay.
Oh, are they gonna?
Okay, you gonna switch over to here?
Yeah.
Move your stuff.
Yeah, actually, we're gonna switch things around.
I'll switch the name tags.
Mr. Reed, do you remember the order here?
Yeah.
I think it was
Uh,
Mr. Hui by me.
Chris.
Chris will be here. Mr. Reed,
I guess we have to choose.
then Mr. Hoover, Mr. Short, and
Thank Mr. Short for his leadership over the past year. It's been another interesting year. Let's hope we make the next year a dull year, if possible. So, secondly, I just want to thank my colleagues for entrusting me with the gavel. And then finally, I just wanted to note that I've asked the superintendent to make a change when calling roll for a vote. I'm asking that the student board member be called first. I've always wondered, as an advisory vote, the wisdom of having the board member vote last, because the board will not, benefit from having the recommendation from the student board member. So going forward, the student board member will be called first in the roll call.
No pressure.
All right. Next item is appointment of the superintendent as secretary of the board. Is there a motion?
I'll move.
A motion by Mr. Clark, second by Mr. Short. All in favor? Oh, actually, I guess
Okay,
Yeah,
we'll start with Ms. Gow. Aye. Mr. Short,
Aye.
Mr. Reed,
Aye.
Mr. Hoover,
Aye.
Mr. Clark,
Aye.
Mr. Hui.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. Thank you.
The next item will be to approve dates, times of next year's board meeting for July 2022 through June 2023. Is there a motion?
I'll move. I'll
Motion-
second.
Motion by Mr. Hui, second by Mr. Hoover. Superintendent, will you call the roll?
Ms. Gow,
Aye.
Mr. Short,
Yes.
Mr. Reed,
Aye.
Mr. Hoover,
Aye.
Mr. Clark,
Aye.
Mr. Hui.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
All right.
The next item is to approve trustee volunteer positions for committees. Superintendent, would you go through the list and briefly identify the committees and the role they perform, and also recommend any changes that you would like on the committee structure?
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. And I gave the board a hard copy because I did review the committee list with my cabinet team as well, and we're recommending a couple of revisions to it. Starting at the top, for the secondary curriculum advisory, elementary curriculum advisory, we only need one curriculum advisory committee. It is still 6 to 7 meetings per year, but we will just consolidate that into one committee. If mostly it meets for secondary related items, but if elementary is needed, they would meet as needed. So that's the first change. No change with Student Advisory Board. They have one meeting per month. Ms. Gow is the president. She invites whoever's appointed to the committee to those meetings. School Health Advisory Committee, no changes. CTE Advisory Committee, no changes. Special Ed Working Committee, rather than one meeting per month, they're meeting every other month. So that would be the change for that committee. The Social Emotional Learning Guiding Coalition is now folded into the Equity Advisory, so we can actually delete that committee. No changes with the Equity Advisory Committee, still meets quarterly in the afternoons. The next one, the Lcap Planning Group, meetings at SCOE, we can just rename that Lcap Planning Group. So that's just a minor revision in the name of the committee. The District Safety Action Plan Committee has actually already been renamed to the Safety Advisory Committee, so let's have that reflected on this for 2022. And they are meeting quarterly, and that's continuing on with the meeting schedule that we already have. The next committee is District Facilities and Growth Committee. So we're just adding the name committee instead of meeting rep. They meet as needed. Budget Advisory Committee remains the same, as does the Advisory 711 Committee for Sale of Surplus Property. There is one new committee I'm recommending, and it is to address attendance and engagement, and we're calling it a task force, attendance task force. We haven't defined how often it would meet, but right now we're looking at least quarterly, and we would look for community and board members and student representatives as well as staff to be on this attendance task force. So that would be a new committee. We see it as different than the safety committee because it really needs to be a focus on attendance and where we're at with attendance. So that would be the one new committee. No changes to the following 3 committees, the 2x2 for the Cordova Rec and Park, and the City of Folsom and Parks and Rec, and the City of Rancho Cordova Coordination 2x2. So no changes to those committees. I would like to note that we put little tiny asterisks by a few of these committees that Ms. Gow would also like to be part of, and for our board bylaw on the Student Advisory Board rep, she has the ability to be part of these committees if she so chooses, or she can appoint a designee. So those committees that Ms. Gow would like to be part of or if she already is part of the committees, or the School Health Advisory Committee, there's an asterisk there. CTE District Advisory, the Equity Advisory, the Lcap Planning Group, the Budget Advisory, and the Attendance Task Force. So those would be the changes on the committees for 2022. And Mr. Reed, did you or any other board members want to recommend any other committees before we vote on who's going to be the representatives?
Yes, I want to recommend to my colleagues the addition of 2 additional committees. The first would be a policy committee. It would be the committee that would review all board policies that come in from CSBA, as well as any recommendations from staff, board members, or the public for changes to existing policies. And then once that committee reviews the policies, they would be sent to the board for action. The second, I don't think we could form today, but I would like to get your feedback on, is I'd like to consider approaching SCOE as well as the County Board of Supervisors and asking if they would be interested in participating in what I'm calling a county 2x2x2. Similar to how we have a 2x2 with the city of Folsom and a 2x2 with the city of Rancho Cordova, it would be an extra 2, 2x2x2 with between FCUSD, SCOE, and the county. Thoughts of my colleagues on that?
Mr. President, the question on the county 2x2x2, you've got a county supervisor highlighted in here. Are we talking, because I think the way that the district is laid out, we are represented by 2 county supervisors?
Correct, yes.
So would it just be a particular one or either one? How would that work?
I would imagine both of them. They would be the 2.
It's a 2x2 by.
Yeah, but that would normally be, that look like a pretty big meeting. I mean, I'm good with it. Be something new. I know it's something that we can't, start off immediately. I mean, be some dialogue before we can jump on it, but I'm okay with it. I was just curious, one, on the availability of both supervisors at the same time. I mean, I know they run a pretty busy schedule.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but I'm okay with it. I just wanted some clarification on what that would look like.
Yeah, it would require, obviously, for the superintendent to reach out to see if there's an interest. If there is, we could do it. If there isn't, then it was a nice idea.
Okay.
Yeah, Mr. President.
Yes, Mr. Short.
The same type of sentiments there. I mean, the logistics of it and then reaching out to them first to see if they are willing to do that. That's
my
anything, I don't have a problem with it.
Mic on.
It's different when you're president. It's always on. Sorry, but yeah, I agree with Mr. Clark. I think we need to reach out, maybe put this on the future, but for right now, hitting the ground, it's going to be more difficult. But
Yep.
I mean, it's more communication, the better.
Mr. President?
Yeah, Mr. Hoover.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I think we shouldn't vote on it tonight and then subpoena them or something, right? But I definitely think we should ask. Yeah, let's reach out and ask. And I also just want to say that I like the idea of a policy committee, and I would even love to submit my interest in serving on the committee as well.
Okay. Is there a consensus, at least for this evening, that move forward with the policy committee, and then we'll wait to hear back on interest on the county committee?
Mr. President, yes, I would be for the policy CBA, and I would also like to sit on that one.
Okay, sounds good. All right, then let's go through the list. We'll start with the Curriculum Advisory Committee. Last year, it was myself and Mr. Hui. I will take my name off of that for 2022. Mr. Hui, are you still interested in serving on that?
Yeah, I can still serve on that.
Is there another board member who would be interested in serving on that committee?
I can serve on that committee.
Okay. And we also have a room for an alternate if there was an interest.
I'll tap into the alternate.
Okay. All right, so we have Hui, Hoover, alternate Clark. The next committee is the Student Advisory Board. Currently, we have Clark and Hoover on that committee. Are you interested in continuing, or?
I will continue.
I feel very bad because I'm rarely ever able to make these. So if someone else is interested, I'd be happy to move my name to the alternate or step down.
Is there anyone else that's interested?
If not, I'll stay on.
I haven't been on that yet. I wouldn't mind adding my name to that. Ms. Gow, it meets in the mornings?
Yes,
Really?
the second Wednesday of each month from 10 a.m. to 11:30 a.m.
All right, I might be able to make that. Okay, so I'll put my name down for that, and then Mr. Hoover as an alternate.
Sounds good.
All right, the School Health Advisory Committee, we currently have Mr. Huey and Mr. Hoover. Are you interested in continuing?
I'm good with that.
Mr. Huey?
I'm fine, but if someone else is interested, willing to. But yeah, I'm fine to continue serving.
Is there anyone else that's interested? Okay, so Mr. Huey, Mr. Hoover, is there an alternate? We don't need to have one, but if there's interest. All right, we'll move to the CTE Advisory Committee. Mr. Short and myself are on.
I'd like to remain.
Okay. I would like to remain as well, but I'd be happy to be an alternate if there's someone who would like to be on that committee.
Mr. President, if you'd like to remain on the committee, I can fill in as an alternate.
Okay. All right, so Short, Reed, alternate, Clark. All right, SPED Working Committee. Currently, we have Mr. Clark and Mr. Hoover with Mr. Huey as an alternate. Mr. Clark, are you interested in remaining on that?
Yes, Mr. President.
Mr. Hoover, are you interested in remaining? Mr. Huey, are you interested in remaining?
Yes.
Yes, okay. All right, so that will remain the same. All right, the Equity Advisory Committee. We have Mr. Clark and myself with Mr. Hoover serving as an alternate. Mr. Clark, are you interested in remaining on that committee?
I can do it.
Okay. And again, I'd be happy to take the alternate position if someone else is interested in being on the committee.
I'd be interested in that.
All right.
Mr. President.
So, Mr. Clark and Mr. Huey. Mr. Hoover, if you want to remain as alternate,
I'm good.
You're
If
good?
you want to be alternate.
okay. All right. All right, and then we have the Lcap Planning Group. Currently have Mr. Clark and Mr. Hoover with Mr. Short as alternate. Mr. Clark, are you interested in remaining on there?
I will.
Okay. Mr. Hoover, are you interested in
Sure.
remaining? And Mr. Short, are you interested in remaining?
Staying, yeah.
Okay. Safety Advisory Committee, we currently have Mr. Short and Mr. Huey. Mr. Short, are you interested in remaining on there?
Yes.
Mr. Huey, are you interested in remaining on there?
I am.
We have a room for an alternate. Is there an individual who would be interested in being an alternate on the committee?
Do you have any interest, Mr. Reed? If not, I can do it.
That's fine. Mr. Hoover, if you want that. Okay. All right. District Facilities and Growth Committee. Currently, we have Mr. Hoover and myself, and Mr. Clark is an alternate. Mr. Hoover, are you interested in remaining on there?
Yeah, if I could.
Okay, and I'm interested in remaining on there as well. Mr. Clark, are you interested in remaining as an alternate?
Yes, Mr. President.
Okay. Budget Advisory Committee, we have Mr. Huey and myself and Mr. Hoover as an alternate. Mr. Huey, are you interested in remaining on there?
I'll step off of that one.
Step off, okay. I would have an interest in remaining on there. Mr. Hoover, would you have an interest in moving up from alternate?
Sure.
Okay, is there,
Unless there's other interest, but yeah, I would be happy to.
okay. Is there someone who would be interested in the alternate position?
I could be.
Mr. Short, okay. All right, and now we have the Advisory 7-Eleven Committee for Sale of Surplus Property. We currently have Mr. Short and Mr. Clark. Mr. Short, would you be interested in remaining on there?
Yeah.
Mr. Clark, would you be interested in remaining?
Yes.
There's room for an alternate if there's anyone who has an interest. I'll take that.
Okay.
All right, now we have the new attendance task force. Are there board members who would be interested in serving on that?
I'd be interested in serving on there.
Mr. Hui? Maybe someone, would Mr. Clark and Mr. Short to have cross-district representation on there?
I don't know when, how often.
Yeah.
Do we have any information on how often and when they might meet?
We would start quarterly. Yes, yeah, in
PM?
the afternoons.
Okay, I can do it.
Mr. Short? Okay. Is there anyone who has an interest in being the alternate?
I can take that on.
Okay, so we have Mr. Hui, Mr. Short, and Mr. Clark as alternate. All right, the Cordova Recreation and Park 2x2, we have Mr. Short and Mr. Clark. Would you gentlemen like to remain on there?
Mr. President,
Yes?
just curious, I don't think they met last year. Maybe the superintendent can give us clarification on that.
They did not meet last year, but my understanding is they are also going by trustee areas, so they are still staying together as a committee. And if they were to call a meeting, we would, I guess, be on standby until, that point where they call. And they only have one meeting per year.
Okay.
I'm going to stay on it.
Okay,
Yeah, I'm going to stay on too.
all right. All right, we have the City of Folsom and Folsom Park and Recreation Joint Coordination 2x2. I think traditionally, and correct me if I'm wrong, the president is normally on that two.
Remove me.
Yeah.
Remove Mr. Short, okay. So.
I would like to remain if possible.
Okay. Is there an individual who would like to be an alternate?
I can stay on as alternate.
Okay. So Reed, Hoover, and Clark as alternate. City of Rancho Cordova, joint coordination 2x2.
Remove me.
Okay, so I
I'm
will,
willing to be an alternate.
okay. Mr. Clark, would you like to remain on there?
I would like to remain on that.
Okay. And Short as alternate. All right, so that'd be Mr. Reed, Mr. Clark, and Mr. Short as alternate. The Policy Committee. I know we have a couple of folks that are interested, and admittedly, I'm interested as well. I like drafting stuff.
Pretty good at it too. So.
But at the same time, I'm fine if other people would like to be on there.
Mr. President, I'd like to be on that one.
I'm
Except my delegate, CSBA.
Okay.
I'm happy to be an alternate, Mr. Reed, if you would like to be on the committee.
Okay. All right. Thank you. So we'll have Mr. Reed, Mr. Short, and alternate Mr. Hoover. All right. I think that brings us to the end of that list. Superintendent Cleggan, do we need to vote on this, or is this basically by consensus?
It would be by consensus.
Okay, all right, so we're finished with that one. All right, moving on to review of governance handbook. Superintendent Cleggan, do you want to describe that?
Yes, this organizational meeting, we usually take a look at our governance handbook, and we designate time at our January board study session to do so. But we did review our governance handbook a couple of times last year at the January and at the June board workshops. There were some timely changes we wanted to make. And I wanted to remind the board that after the June board study session, we did make revisions as late as August 2021. So it really is up to this board. If you want to make any more revisions, we can put it in our study session agenda for January 8th, or we can leave it as is as it was adopted in August 2021. But we always put it here for option to revisit it if need be.
I'm fine. I think we're going to have a fairly robust agenda for the study session. So given the fact that we went through it extensively last year, as well as revisited several times in the past year, I'd be comfortable, and the fact that we have no changes to the board, I'd be comfortable of skipping that for January 8th, if my colleagues agree.
I would agree with that.
I agree, Mr. President.
All right. Then moving on to the adoption of the agenda.
Move it.
Motion by
Second.
Mr. Short and a second by Mr. Clark. Superintendent, will you take the roll?
Ms. Scow.
Aye.
Mr. Short.
Aye.
Mr. Reed.
Aye.
Mr. Hoover.
Aye.
Mr. Clark.
Aye.
Mr. Hui.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. Thank you.
All right, the next item on the agenda is public participation. Speakers will be called in order that their cards are received or any hands are raised on Zoom. I would just note that this is for items that are not on the agenda. If you're here to speak on an item that is on the agenda, there will be a public comment period for that on that specific agenda item when we get to it. Do we have any cards for public comment today?
We don't have any cards for people in person to speak. I believe we have some requests virtually.
Okay. Why don't we go to Zoom for public participation, and you'll have 3 minutes.
First, I'm going to bring up Stephen.
Good evening, members of the board. My name is Steve Sander. I'm an organizer and a member of the community. I continue to urge the board to consider the safety specialist model from the November board meeting, also known as Recommendation B, with respect to the SRO issue. School resource officers, or SROs, continue to be a pernicious problem plaguing the district. I would like to remind the board that the presence of SROs in schools is not in any way correlated with better student achievement or social emotional well-being. Students are 25 times more likely to be arrested than white students. Here in the district, Black students make up about 6% of total student enrollment, yet represent 55% of all students arrested. And over half of FCUSD secondary students surveyed had indicated they had either a neutral or a negative interaction with an SRO. I and other members of the community continue to support Recommendation B, where no SROs are in the schools. Thank you and have a wonderful evening and have a great holiday.
Thank you very much. Next speaker.
Next, we have Jordan.
Good evening. I'm Jordan Kaitaku. I'm a Cordova High alumna, part of the Black alumni of FCUSD. I also sit on Sacramento County Behavioral Health Youth Advisory Board. My comment is about the recommendations from the Steering Safety Committee and SROs. SROs are not social workers or trauma-informed specialists. SROs are not capable of practicing restorative justice. SROs are trained to criminalize and react punitively. SROs are not legally obligated to protect students. SROs are used as a form of intimidation into obedience. SROs pose a threat to students' safe spaces. They also contribute to the school-to-prison pipeline, which disproportionately impacts Black students and are a source of trauma for marginalized students. The superficial relationships that SROs in this district are claiming to be made by SROs aren't as impactful as is being portrayed, when only 7% of students would even seek help from SROs. Black students don't see SROs as a resource, and no amount of insensitive presentations, newsletters, or handshakes will change that. Black students have to witness the chaos and devastation law enforcement brings into the communities on a daily basis, so those relationships are non-viable and enforced. Black students have said that being around police, even the ones contracted by the district, makes them feel unsafe. Removing SROs from school campuses will not prevent students who want a relationship with law enforcement from building one. Removing SROs will prevent students from being involuntarily subjected to the law enforcement presence. Relationships can continue to be fostered by people who are in and reflective of the community. Understanding some skepticism about the safety specialist model, I still stand firm and believe that this is the best option for students. Through conversations with dozens of current students and recent graduates, they have emphasized the dire need for change to actually be made in this district. After a few heard about potential hybrid model, they expressed that the only way they would full-heartedly support this model was if it was guaranteed that the hybrid model would only be a transition into the full-blown safety specialist model. They lack the confidence in the district will actually follow through with the progressing in a direction that actually benefits them without specific language put in place with intent of phasing forward. I urge you to be the change agent you claim to be. Let go of this 30-year-old SRO safety program that's ineffective and affirm the voices and concerns of your students. The modifications proposed to the current MOU are band-aids over a gaping wound. They don't address the root of the problem. They don't change enough to fix the problem. And this is why you must move away from SROs altogether. Vote to implement the safety specialist model. Thank you.
Thank you, Jordan. Next speaker.
No more speakers.
No more speakers. It looks like we do have a paper comment. Anthony Lacaze? Lakaya. Okay, Anthony Lakaya.
I apologize. I totally thought that the Google Form online version was separate from the card. So, good evening, board members, Dr. Kaligian, President Reed. My name is Anthony Lacayo. I'm an FCUSD alumni and current FCUSD employee. With the comments we just heard, I wanted to give some positive enlightenment towards the ongoing controversial SRO issue. For a majority of my life, I have been able to be a volunteer and a student with the Police Activities League with the Rancho Cordova Police Department. The Rancho Cordova Police Activities League is a nonprofit organization that builds relationships between RCPD and youth through a variety of community-wide programs, serving more than 3,500 students a year. Their motto is, "Every kid needs a pal." With this motto, with the experience that I had with PAL, I can see that now working for the district. Having the SROs on campus is a safety issue for me as a staff, as an ex-student, as a relative of 2 students at the school where I'm at. And it's myself and my family and other community members feel very much safer having SROs on campus. To preventing and responding to school-like crimes on FCUSD campuses, I actually got an email prior to arriving here today from my principal saying with the recent TikTok social media platform comments about like threats and all, the email states that he and the other administrators on campus reached out to SROs with the request of additional support tomorrow and just vigilance throughout the campus. And I was thinking, well, there's all these kind of negative comments towards the SROs being on campus, and what would we do without them? Another positive thing that I had seen going to campus every day, seeing a squad car in between the campuses of Mills and Cordova. I think that's a great thing to have the students who are engaging in daily conversations with the SROs to have a good day at school. Like I said, we heard negative comments, but hopefully this is kind of a positive comments towards the 4 SROs. That way we can have an open mind on both standpoints of this issue. Thank you and have a good evening.
Thank you, Anthony. All right, I believe that will conclude the public participation. Next agenda item 9, reports of district organizations. We'll start with the Student Advisory Board.
Good evening. At last week's Student Advisory Board meeting, we discussed student feelings towards school safety in our district, looking ahead to the Safety Steering Committee recommendations. Students expressed a need for improvements to the current model, with many feeling that some sort of an individual designated for student safety would definitely make them feel more secure at school. Those stronger connections would need to be developed. Some students, especially some middle school representatives, felt intimidated or uncomfortable with SROs on campus, and there will be further discussion at our January 12th meeting. Care Solace also came in and presented the mental health service use and how students can readily connect with healthcare providers confidentially, which was definitely greatly appreciated by our SAB reps. They've previously expressed concerns about mental health care in the district. So I'd like to thank Mr. Ogden and Ms. Buenos for taking the time to explain the service to us. We moved on to discuss topics and accessibility measures for our upcoming student forum. Topics that our representatives most supported and found most urgent within the district included racism, ableism, mental health, and homophobia. Accessibility measures included providing transportation from different school sites to make it as available as possible and hosting a separate or detached forum for our older elementary school students. Finally, we brainstormed more ways to increase SAB visibility, including greater social media presence and creating a junior student advisory board for older elementary school and middle school students. Thank you, and our next SAB meeting is Wednesday, January 12th from 10 to 11:30 a.m.
Thank you, Ms. Gao. Next, California School Employees Association.
Good evening, school board members and Dr. Koligian. Congratulations, President Reed, and thank you very much, past President or outgoing President Short. We appreciate your service. I wanted to let you know that going into next year, as we're planning for next year, I will be continuing on as CSEA President. However, this is the last time I'll be addressing you as an employee of the district. And so as I'm going into my retirement, I had a little time to think about my time with the district, my almost 2 decades with the district, and think about the wonderful team we have and how it's from all sides of the district, from the board, from the leadership team that's here, from the administrators, from the teachers, and from the classified employees. We all do the best we can for our students, and we all take care of each other. So as I retire from the district, I'm very thankful for the time I've had with the district. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Thomas, and thank you very much for your dedication, and wish you well in retirement. But obviously, we'll continue to see you, so that's the good news. All right, next, Folsom Cordova Education Association.
Good evening, Dr. Koligian and members of the board, and congratulations to all of you on your new positions. I have to say, also, before I start, congratulations to Mr. Thomas on his retirement, and I have appreciated and enjoyed working with you so much, so I'm glad you're staying in the position, and we'll continue the relationship between FCEA and CSEA. The past several months, we have everybody has put the team in Team FCUSD. It has been incredible how all of our employees have pulled together. I mean, we're talking from district management, and I'm afraid I'm going to leave somebody out, so I'm not going to list everybody. But, going from the top all the way down with the shortages that we've faced, everybody has pulled together and supported each other, gotten out of their comfort zone, gotten out of their current position and helped out where they've needed to. And I know it's been a strain on everyone, because the minute you walk out of your position to help out, things don't stop. So it has been a strain, but I am so grateful to everybody for stepping up and doing what was needed to take care of our kids and keep our programs running smoothly. Hoping going into the new year, it sounds like we've got some things going. We've got subs kind of coming on board and classified things happening. So hopefully it'll take some of the strain off and we can have everybody doing the job that they were meant to be doing. But it's with extreme gratitude that I say thank you to everybody for all they have done. And happy holidays to all of you. Have a wonderful break. And I hope all of our employees take the time to unplug and take that time for themselves and for their families. So thank you.
Thank you. All right, let's see, Folsom Cordova Leadership Association.
Well, good evening, President Reed and board members, Dr. Koligian. Happy holidays to all of you. Tonight, the FCLA is again highlighting one of the FCUSD campuses, and I am very excited and proud to introduce the school that I have the privilege of being the principal at, and that is Folsom Middle School. Tonight, we will share how at FMS, we are approaching the district vision of SEL as a bridge toward educational equity. And I'd like to begin by introducing the team who is here this evening. So first off, of course, I'm Dr. Terry Daniels. I'm the principal. We have Jana Record, our mental health specialist on campus, and Tristine Lorraines, who is our climate coach, as well as a history instructor and our yearbook instructor. Stephanie Bell is also a history instructor on campus and our leadership class instructor. And then we have 3 of our student body members here. We have Nicolette Anderson, who is our student body president, Jordan Kendler, our student body vice president, and Al Farouk Al Amin, who is one of our student leadership members. And tonight we're going to present for you how we are doing the vision of SEL as a bridge toward educational equity on our campus. So at this time, I will turn it over to Ms. Record.
Hi, again, like Dr. Daniel said, I'm Jana Record. I'm the mental health specialist at Folsom Middle School. So Folsom Middle School is definitely known for the academic rigor and high achieving state assessment scores. In 2021, FMS was recognized as a California Distinguished School. In 2019, however, a team of us attended the Challenge Success Conference at Stanford University, where we became very aware of the amount of stress that our students were facing. The high pressure to perform academically as well as participate in many extracurricular activities was pushing our students into overwhelm. Therefore, a new emphasis was placed on SEL and brought to the forefront of our work at Folsom Middle School. So the Challenge Success's mission is to actually challenge the traditional definition of success and embrace a more broad, well-rounded version that promotes student well-being and engagement. Through our focus on implementing social emotional strategies and lessons during the school day, our students are able to build really meaningful relationships with staff and learn coping strategies that help them build social and emotional wellness.
So after our Challenge Success training, we created a culture team that we now call PAUSE. We are made up of teachers, counselors, administrators, parents, and students. We meet monthly to focus on the culture of our school and to how we can support our staff and our students with an SEL focus. Our advisory periods, Monday through Thursday, traditionally had been solely used for academic support. But the team transitioned our advisory periods to be more SEL oriented, and focus was placed on strengthening character and building relationships between between adults and students on campus. The PAUSE team conducts student and staff surveys throughout the year, using data from California Healthy Kids Survey, as well as now Panorama, moving forward, to see what areas of focus are needed and how to measure the effects of the efforts that we have put into place, if they're working or not. For an example, if you look at the pie chart that we have, you can see that the majority of our students, so this was taken at the beginning of this year, feel that they are connected to an adult on campus.
Hi, I'm Nikki Anderson, and as the president of the Student Body Leadership, we work closely with Ms. Bell, our advisor, and the other teachers and students to promote a positive school culture to provide students with a sense of belonging to the school. We work on fun activities to help with student connections and engagement. We have Web, where everyone belongs, and the Webbies come into advisory classes of 6th and 7th grade students 2 times a month to run activities. In advisory, Monday is dedicated to mindfulness, and Tuesdays are when all classes focus on second step lessons, which is the district-adopted SEL curriculum. There are many clubs on campus, and we are always looking for ways to support our student body. We have JAG TV, where our media productions class creates a news show to share what is happening on campus once a week in advisory, and student leadership does the daily announcements. I and another member of the student leadership serve on our school site council, and we work with the parents and staff as a team to focus on how best to meet both the academic and social emotional wellness of the FMS community.
Hi, I'm Jordan, and I'm Student Body Vice President. At Folsom Middle School, student voice is strongly encouraged and valued. Dr. Daniels holds lunch bunch meetings with the principal, where she and Ms. Record seek input from students on what they like or want changed within the school environment. As Mrs. Lorraine shared, there are plenty of opportunities for student feedback on the surveys, and the activities on campus are always student-driven. I and another member in student leadership also serve on the District Student Advisory Board and report back to our campus. This year, students in grades 7 and 8 have been trained in conducting restorative circles. Miss Record and Miss Komatsu, one of the counselors, have trained the students in the process, and they then lead the circles in their advisory classes. This empowers students to have a voice and be a leader, and also provides all students an ability to check in with each other and to share.
Hi, I'm Al Farouk, and I'd like to explain some other things we do for Connection. FMS has established a targeted homework club, partnered with tutors from Vista del Lago to run interventions on campus after school to support students academically. FMS will also continue with advisory this year and balance, based on student and staff feedback, that some days will be designated towards SEL, while others will be geared towards more academic support. We'll also be continuing with the use of data to drive what we do to support student wellness and to continue to listen to what our students' needs are. Something that we haven't shared yet that makes Folsom Middle School unique in regards to SEL is that we're partners with Mr. Brown and the Choose Well program for supplemental support. At this time, we'd like to share with the board, Dr. Kaligian, and the rest of the FCUSD community a brief clip from our friend, Mr. Brown.
Hello, I'm Mr. Brown with the Choose Well program. We help schools build a positive culture, one choice at a time. We believe that when you make better choices, you will live a better life. So choose well. Oh, yeah. We provide schools with assemblies, professional development, parent engagement opportunities, SEL video library. In this video, we want to talk about our partnership with Folsom Middle School. I am so privileged to partner with the school. Hello, I'm Mr. Brown with the Choose Well program. And we started with the Educators. Came to the school, did a professional development session with the teachers. We believe in that session, we talked about this. You first, leading from the inside out. In that session, we essentially said this. You can help. Oh, yeah. We provide schools with assemblies, professional development, parent engagement opportunities, SEL video library. In this video, we want to talk about our partnership with Folsom Middle School. I am so privileged to partner with the school. We started a few years ago, and we started with the Educators. Came to the school and did a professional development session with the teachers. And in that session, we talked about this. You first, leading from the inside out. In that session, we essentially said this. You can help nobody else breathe if you don't have your own oxygen mask on. Know when you fly, they tell you if the oxygen mask fall down, you put yours on first, then you help somebody else. So often our educators are gasping for air themselves while they're trying to help kids breathe. I think it's important not just focus on our kids, but help our educators not only survive, but thrive. Because if they're thriving, they can help our kids thrive. A little time after that, we had a chance to do some assemblies with the students. We spent 2 days at Folsom. The first day was assemblies with students. The second day was small groups. And I tell you what, it was more than fun.
Do this. Hold that, folks.
Today I'm with who? Who's sitting with me today?
Ife.
Ife, you slouching, man. Sit up. You should be excited to be on the show, man. Sit up. All right. You got a good question for me?
Yeah.
Ife. Like eat and fe.
Yes.
All right. What's your name mean, Ife?
It's Ife Olua, and it means God's love and God's will.
So you didn't even tell me your whole name.
No, because I just go by Ife.
So say your whole name?
Like with my last name?
No, your whole first name.
Ife Olua.
Ife Olua.
Yeah.
That's a cool name.
Thanks.
Is it hard getting everybody to say that sometimes?
Yes.
Ife Olua. So you can be like, my name is Ife Olua. People won't forget that.
Definitely.
And it means what now? God's what?
God's love and God's will.
God's love and God's will. Your parents had a thoughtful name for you. Some people are like, I'm gonna name my kid Baby. That's it. Your parents were thoughtful. Okay, so what's your question? Today, we're partnering with Folsom Middle School by providing customized social emotional learning videos for the classroom during their advisory time. In those videos, we talk about character development, self-awareness, social awareness, self-management, relationship skills, and truthfully, anything else that Dr. Daniels wants me to talk about because she's the boss. Oh, yeah. Seriously, her team, we communicate and we make customized videos to really gauge the climate and the culture of the school to help continue the message. I really look forward to continuing this partnership to help Folsom Middle School make better choices to live a better life and choose well. Oh, yeah.
Okay, sorry about that little glitch there. Thank you, Rochelle. I know that you were trying. I probably didn't send it over correctly, but thank you. So at this time, we just want to thank, and it would be the last slide, but just thank Dr. Kaligian and the district team, the Board of Education, Dr. Pease and the SCL and Equity Department, and of course all the students, parents, and staff that help support our programs and our vision at FMS. So thank you.
Thank you. That was a great presentation. Principal Daniels, just a quick question. How was that paid for again?
Pardon me?
The coach, what was
Mr. Brown?
Mr. Brown.
Yes.
How was that funded?
We use our care monies, and one of the things we didn't share in the presentation, but we have 2 classes on our campus, a 7th grade and an 8th grade care program, which is run through Sacramento County Office of Education, and we do get funding back to the school each year based upon how many students are enrolled in that program, and through that, Mr. Brown works with the care program, and then also part of that is the idea is that the care monies are used to incorporate the care students within the whole student body. So we're able to use that funding for that purpose.
Excellent. Yeah. Mr. Brown seems very engaging. I can see why he would connect very well with the students and staff. Yeah.
He's a good guy.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. President, I did have a couple of questions.
For someone else, Mr. Clark.
Actually, for the students. First of all, I want to tell you guys what a great presentation you had. You did really, really well. So thank you for that. The Stanford Challenge, I think it's called. How many students do you normally have go to that?
You want to talk, Stephanie? Sorry. For Challenge Success, we actually have, it's a parent and student combination. So we have 2 students and 2 parents, and then we had the original time that we went, that student has gone on to Vista Del Lago, but her little sister came on, so we kept the continuation of her mom. And the current students we have, 2 8th graders, will eventually be going on to the high school as well. So we'll be growing our program.
Okay, I think I know one of the students that went last year. How are they selected, just out of curiosity?
When it was started, it was the first year I was here, and Dr. Cook Harvey was here, and so the selection was made through her and one of the assistant principals at that time. So our goal is to open it up to more students and to more parents, and so we're working on that right now as a pause group. It ended up actually filtering through site council, and so we did it through site council and also putting it in our newsletter blast of who may be interested to attend, and then we did it that way as far as like a lottery to see who was selected, because we could only take so many to the actual conference. Right. However, when we get back, then we open it up to leadership and pass it on through the students that way.
Okay, yeah. And I had couple more questions, sorry.
Oh, that's great.
These intrigued me. But I had a question about the advisory and the circles that you do. What kind of circles? How often do you do that?
I'll turn that over to Ms. Record, since she's the one that has been training one of the people training the students.
Yeah, the circles that we've been doing, the restorative practices circles that we were trained in over the summer, actually a bunch of staff went to that training over the summer. And then myself and Mrs. Komatsu, she's our counselor, I know you know her well, she and I have been leading the training of the students. So we didn't actually select the students. We sent an email to all of the, first we started with 8th grade teachers, advisory teachers, and we asked them, please select or ask for volunteers from your advisory class of who would like to come and be trained to lead in their own advisory class, because we want student leaders to bring the information back that we teach them and take it back to their advisory class so that they can lead the circle in their classes. So I think we had like 35 8th grade students come to our first training, and that was last month. We did 3 sessions once a week with the 8th graders, and then we finished with the 7th graders this week. So about 35 also 7th graders were trained in that process as well. And now it's their turn. They have all the information, all the tools, all the resources, and they came up with their own circle agendas and questions and format, and then they can take it back to their advisory classes, and their teachers can allow them to lead the circles in their rooms on their own without us, now that they've had time with us to train.
Right. Is there a specific day, time that you guys do this? And the question I'm asking, the reason why I think it'd be great for, well, myself to pop
come and
in and witness that. I'd like to see the
So we did all the trainings on Wednesday mornings during advisory, and now that they're going to be doing it in their classes, it's kind of up to the advisory teacher and those students to decide when are they going to when are they going to allow the students to do the actual circles in their classes. So Trustee has the advisory calendar. Which day?
At the moment, it would be set for Wednesday or Thursday.
So we have a set advisory calendar.
Mm-hmm.
So Mondays are Mindful Mondays. I'm trying to remember back to our presentation. Yeah, Mondays are Mindful Mondays.
So Mondays are Mindful Mondays, along with JAG TV, and then Tuesdays are Second Step for all staff and students. Wednesdays we have Mr. Brown or Webb, depending on, because they can't meet everyone. So they either go into 6th grade advisories one week or 7th grade advisories another, and then they alternate. And so when students aren't interacting with Webb, it's expected that they will either work with a circle or they will do a Mr. Brown video. And then Thursdays at the moment, it's meant to be used for academics, support for students, but a lot of students don't necessarily always take advantage of that. They want to stay in, and that's another good time for us as teachers to either show Mr. Brown, say if we had our Webbies come in, then we could show Mr. Brown on that day, or we could do our circles. I tend to do my circles on Thursdays.
Okay, great, thank you. And one more question.
You can email myself or Ms. Komatsu, and we can help you get into the class.
I will. But I did have one more question. So your web program, do you know how many students you have in that program? Just out of curiosity.
This year we have 40 8th grade students, and they plan the lessons that they then are going to take into the advisories. They also do activities once a month for 6th graders, and they provide lunchtime activities, again, to continue that bond with them from 8th grader to 6th graders.
Okay, and how do you recruit those?
So they actually apply. So around March or April, if a student is interested, they apply. And then if we need more students, either Ms. Eagles or Ms. Salgado, who are the leaders of Web, will also ask the teachers to potentially put out any names if they think would be any great Web leaders on campus.
Awesome.
And I was just going to add to that. In the past, it's been more like 60 plus students. This year, because of, we believe, distance learning, COVID, some of the students, the 8th graders coming in, hadn't been on campus for a year and a half. So I don't know that they really understood or remembered what Web was, but I'm sure that will pick up again next year for interest as we move forward.
Great.
Usually it's like 60 or 70. Oh, and when you're 90. So there you go.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Daniels. Thank you, Mr. President.
All right. Anybody else? Okay. Next item would be the District English Learner Advisory Committee.
Good evening, President Reed, members of the board, Superintendent Kaligian, and my esteemed colleagues. Excuse me, I'm having a little sneeze fest, I think, but just a brief announcement for DLAC. January 11th, fast approaching, we will have our DLAC meeting at 4 o'clock. It will be virtual. And as noted earlier, we have the Parent Summit on February 5th. We are continuing to plan for in-person, but we'll adjust as needed. So that's my report. Have a great evening and happy holidays.
Thank you. All right, that moves us to agenda item 10, agenda consent. All items listed on the consent agenda will be acted upon by one motion without discussion. Should any trustee or other person request that any item be considered separately, that item will be pulled for discussion action. Are there any items that the board would like to have removed for discussion?
Yeah, Board President?
Yes, Mr.
I'd like to remove item I.
Item I. Okay. Are there any other items that the board would like to have removed? All right. Hearing none, is there a motion to accept the agenda consent with the exception of item I?
I'll move it.
I'll
move it.
Okay. Motion by Mr. Clark, and I think I heard Mr. Short as a second. Superintendent, roll, please.
Ms. Gao?
Aye.
Mr. Short?
Aye.
Mr. Reed?
Aye.
Mr. Hoover?
Aye.
Mr. Clark?
Aye.
Mr. Hui?
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
Okay. Agenda item I, Mr. Hui?
Yeah, I remove this item. I won't be commenting on it because of the confidential nature of it, but I would like to have a separate vote for it.
Okay. So is there a motion to approve item I, approve expulsion recommendation case number 2122-3S?
I'll move it.
Motion by Mr. Short. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Clark. Superintendent, roll.
Ms. Gao?
I'll withhold.
Okay.
Abstain. Sorry.
Abstain.
Okay. Mr. Short?
Yes.
Mr. Reed?
Aye.
Mr. Hoover?
Aye.
Mr. Clark?
Aye.
Mr. Hui?
No.
Motion carries 4-1.
She mentioned Ms. Did you vote?
Yeah.
Oh, you didn't? Okay. Sorry. Okay. All right. Next item on the agenda would be item 11, discussion. That is item A, proposed trustee area redistricting, demographic presentation on trustee maps based on the official 2020 census data. Superintendent Kaligian, will you introduce the item, please?
Yes, just as a reminder, our district completed the process of transition to trustee areas back at, and finalized that at the June 4th, 2020 board meeting. And every 10 years after the U.S. Census data is released, school districts are required to evaluate whether their current trustee areas have approximately equal populations using the new census data. And with the recent 2020 census data, we've begun the process of evaluating each of the trustee areas for population balance. With that, I'm going to introduce Mr. Sean Martin, Assistant Superintendent of Business Services, who will introduce the item and our presenters for the item. Mr. Martin.
Good evening. Yes, so this meeting tonight will only be discussion item. We'll be bringing this back for future action. We have several meetings available if there's multiple adjustments to the maps that we'd be looking at. And so what we have a couple of people here with us tonight to help through this process. We have Paul Gant from Kingsley Bogart to give legal interpretation. And also via Zoom, we have Scott Terlucci from Davis Demographics, who completed the analysis, and he's going to go over the current demographic information with the updated census, and then some map options available to the board. What we're going to be looking at, and I believe in his presentation he'll discuss, that we have to ensure that we're within certain parameters when it comes to allocation of population to ensure that there's a relatively equal allocation of the total population, but also to ensure that certain subgroups and categories are of demographics are standardized and adjusted for to ensure there's equality in the groups represented. So, and we have Scott via Zoom. Scott, are you there?
I am here.
Okay, wonderful. And Scott, did you want to, you have the ability to co-host the meeting. So if you want to display the presentation from your computer, you can do that. That is
That'd be great. I can share my screen.
Okay. And then on our side, we just have to go over to Zoom. And it will pop up on here. Okay, perfect. Go ahead, Scott, if you'd like to go ahead and display your screen.
Hey, yeah, it says I'm sharing, so hopefully you can see it.
We're working on it on our side.
Not yet. 1 second.
Well, while we're waiting for that to happen, what we want to share tonight is the 3 different maps with options. Each map actually builds upon itself. So map 1 will be a map that will show some changes to balance certain area groups. And then map 2 is an additional adjustment. And then map 3 is also an expansion. What we will see is we have an estimated significant growth within Trustee Area 2 because of the south of 50 location, as we know, all the development that's occurring there. And so we're creating a map that will hopefully allow us to prepare for the future growth to a certain degree within the reason of still balancing all of the trustee areas. So, it looks like we have it up.
All right.
All right, Scott, I think we're ready to go ahead. Start.
We're okay?
Yes, please go ahead.
Okay. Thank you for having me. Here to give you just a quick update. I'm not a lawyer, I'm a demographer. I am going to tell you some of the laws, and please, the lawyer, Mr. Yan, please correct me if I do say anything incorrect, but this is as we're understanding it and how we're doing it. So I just want to go over and give you a brief overview of what exactly we're doing, the results of those 3 scenarios that we had, and then answer any questions you may have. So the objective is to review the current trustee areas with compliance with California Ed Code 5019.5 with the 2020 census. I'll talk more about 2020 or about the 5019.5. If you're in compliance, there's no further steps required. Out of compliance, then we have to ensure that we balance the population of the trustee areas by adjusting boundaries. So this is a quick summary of the Ed Code 5019.5. We review the trustee areas after every federal census. Every 10 years this gets done. That's part of the Ed Code. And the idea is to achieve population equity as nearly as practicable. Total population, not citizens nor voters. So it's every person in there. And you're just looking at the average and the total population divided by the number of trustee areas. So that's what we're looking for. And this all has to be done by February 28th, 2022. If it's not submitted to the county by that time, they can, and from my understanding, they will take over the process themselves without any input from the district, and they will charge you for the time they did it for. So it's in your best interest to get this done, and that's why we're all doing this right now. So our tasks were to recreate the current trustee areas with 2020 census blocks, determine compliance, if needed, create in-compliance scenarios for the board vote, and provide web-based map for public information. And that's the map URL there. I've seen it on your website. You guys have done a great job of getting public awareness of it. So I appreciate that. That's great. So I just want to talk a little bit about the census blocks. These are the smallest level of geography that has all of the population data, the racial breakdown, and citizen voting age population. So there's some of them are kind of odd looking, if you could see. So we're limited. These are what we have to use. You might not like a boundary or feel that one of the areas is correct. Well, it could very well be, because we couldn't do anything else in that point. We just have to go with what these boundaries look like at here. If you look at by where it says used to build trustee areas, you can see there's a trustee area that wraps around, a census block that wraps around another census block that has 2 census blocks in it. So these are derived by algorithms by the U.S. Census Bureau, and unfortunately, we have no input on how these are drawn. Also, every 10 years, they change the census blocks. So again, we may not be able to recreate exactly what the 2010 was, or we may have to move things around because of 2010. So if you look at the green arrow, you could see in 2010, there was many more census blocks in that area. They've kind of all dissolved into one. If you look at the purple arrow, you can see then between 2010, there was nothing there. 2020, there was a lot there. Now, it could be kind of a new development, things of that sort. But like the first one, where something in the green, where something all of a sudden went away, those are a little harder to explain. And the yellow area, you could see that there was 2010, there was nothing, then 2020, there was something. So those are what we're working with and some of the challenges we have to do to get this done for you. So your current trustee areas. This was done using the 2020 census, getting the lines in as close as possible to 2010, and your max variance is 22.3%. So the average is 27, and your variance from that average is the negative 10.6 and the positive 11.6 in trustee area 1 and 2. That's your 22.3 with rounding of the variance. So you are unfortunately out of compliance. Something needs to be adjusted. We have the breakdown of the racial breakdown of the district. We try to keep the scenarios within reason of what these are. Population shift, people shift, this racial breakdown does shift. This is something the lawyer does look at to make sure that they were not creating any inequalities around the district. So, additional considerations. Each trustee area must be less than the 10% between the smallest to the largest. It's not to be considered a redraw of trustee areas. It's try to do the least disruption if possible, and has to comply with all federal laws regarding compactness and conduct duty. So there's a lot of things we have to look at here to try to figure that out. We've also got, maybe some local issues. We want a certain breakdown of schools per trustee area. We may not want to have a trustee area move between 2 areas. So there's many different other considerations we can get that we looked at these boundaries with. So we did a proposed trustee area scenario 1. And I'm very much in the mindset that I want to do the least amount of change and disruption as I can to come back into compliance. So in this one, we only tried to change between trustee area 1 and 2. You remember that was 10 and 11% plus and minus. We needed to get trustee area down, 2 down, and 1 up. So this is what we did here, and I'll zoom into the area of change. So this trustee area here was in 2, it is now in 1 for this scenario. This is the only change that was made in scenario 1. Let's go going backwards. I'm sorry, that's there's scenario 2. Oh, I'm sorry. Wow. And here's the racial breakdown of that change. Really, it didn't change too much. So then we look at scenario 2. Scenario 2 was done to get further into compliance, make some additional changes to make sure that we're just a little bit more closer to that max variance, closer to 0 than we were. The other one was 7.9, I believe. This is 3.9, so we're a little bit closer here. And what we did here was take the change in scenario 1, the change between 1 and 2, and then did a change down between 4 and 5. And we took from 5, and then we gave to 4. And you can see our change between 1 and 2. And then on the right side, there was a census block that is one single census block that has multiple apartments and multi-dwelling units in it. And that took it down and made that big of a change in the variance. And so that went from trustee area 5 to trustee area 4. And then with that, we could see what it looks like, and it's at the 3.9% variance. Again, the racial breakdown is still there. The numbers can be looked at, and we can look for any inequality if needed. So finally, we were asked to look at a scenario that takes into account some of the building that's going to be happening and residential development that's going to be happening in the future. So doing this, we looked at going south, trustee area 3, and moving it west. We expanded trustee area 3 and took some area from 2, and then also expanded trustee area 5 and took some area from 2 with that. Now, the reason why we didn't go further on any of these, because we've got a good max variance here, is because it started when you got too far, let's say trustee area 3, if you start going too far to the east into the blue trustee area 4 towards El Dorado Hills or Clarksville, you started getting into where we have to comply with contiguity and compactness, and we started getting into non-compact areas. And same if you took trustee area 3 southwest towards Gold River or Citrus, again, you would start looking at a non-contiguous, a non-compact trustee area 2. Also consider the areas that are going to be built and when they're going to be built. So we looked at all of that. We've got our same change from 1 to 2 because that was where the main difference was. We brought it a little bit better into compliance with trustee area 4 and 5, making a change there. And then finally, we did the changes I mentioned, moving south in trustee area 3 and southwest for trustee area 3, excuse me, and then moving east on trustee area 5. And then, and a little bit of a change between trustee area 3 and 2. So that was just a little bit more closer in-depth look for it. So that brought you still within 3.7% compliance. So all 3 of these scenarios are comply with the law as to the highest and lowest population difference. They all appear to comply with the law on equality and racial and voting populations. So they're all 3 look pretty good and look like they could work if that's what you want to do. You know, some final thoughts is it doesn't change any of the overall district boundaries. It doesn't change the school of attendance boundaries, and it doesn't affect student enrollment at all. So this is really just for your trustee and the people that voted for the trustees. With that, I'm open to take any questions.
All right, thank you. Yeah, we will start with board questions. And this one, I suspect most of the board members might have questions. So let me start with Ms. Gao. Do you have any questions? Not right now? Okay. Mr. Hui.
A couple of questions. First one, this was on page 3. You referenced a few of the things from the Ed Code. And the goal, it sounds like one of them is to achieve population equity, or I'm sorry, equality. And so I'm wondering, are we talking about current equality or expected equality? Or is that kind of unclear exactly what the education code's asking for?
It's current equality based on the 2020 census.
Okay.
I believe recently you just went from a at-large to a trustee area. That few years ago when you did that, you actually had to use the 2010 census to do it. So it has to be based on the total population of the 2020 census.
Okay. And the way that equality is defined is that 10% variable between smallest to largest?
Correct.
Okay, that's all. Thanks.
Mr. Short.
I gotta get used to turning this on. I know we have 10 years between census data, and I know we're gonna have a lot of development. The way development's going right now is just on fire, and everywhere you go, the buildings are selling really fast. With that said, the question on scenario 3, I know in 5 years, you might have a totally different makeup. And do we have the ability to revisit this, say in 5 years, because the developments on south of 50, even in the Folsom area, and also over there on the Rancho side, there's going to be thousands of homes be built. So is there the possibility that we have to wait 10 years? That's a question.
Well, Mr. Gant answer that one.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Short. So the process that's been described by by Scott is under the 5019.5. That's the decennial rebalancing in essence. There is a process provided under Education Code 5019, which allows for the community to request that the county Committee on School District Reorganization undertake to move boundaries in relationship to changes that may occur on an interim basis. The process is somewhat different. As opposed to being initiated by you, the process is initiated by a petition process. And I think for the size of your district would require the signatures of at least 500 voting, actual registered voters within the district in order to initiate that process with the county committee. Then in the county committee would then work on addressing that and propose the new maps. And then if there was no, legally recognizable objection, it could go forward and be effective for the first election that's at least 120 days after those maps are approved. Now, what happens then is it kind of goes back to the voters. If 5% of the voting population requests through petition that there be an election, then that gets pushed to that election. And then assuming that the boundaries are approved, they would go into effect at the following, the next election, school board election after that. So it is a whole different process.
Yeah,
it's possible.
It's it sounds like a big process. It would be hard to do, yeah.
I don't think I've seen it. It doesn't happen very often.
Yeah.
But I could understand a situation where there was a massive amount of development in one particular area.
Which we're going to have, yeah.
If
absolutely.
you have a group of folks who feel that they're not being represented to that extent, then you could certainly see that being of interest.
Thank you for that. Thank you. Well, that's all I got right now.
All right. Mr. Clark.
Yes, just a clarifying question for Board Member Short. Were we talking about the development of Del Oro? Is that included in that as well?
Well, I'm in the development field. Development across the board, you got South 50, you got a lot of entitlements already in place. Eldorado has been just sitting there, and it's, Rancho's going to be, all those entitlements are ready to go. I think they're going to start issuing permits as fast as they can because the housing market's just on fire right now, and there's no end to it right now, unless we have a fallout in the economy, of course, which could be possible. But right now, there's no end to it.
Okay.
Right now,
And I just wanted to clarify that.
It's I think on both sides, yeah.
Okay, thank you. That was it, Mr. President.
All right, Mr. Hoover.
Thank you, Mr. President. I guess for our map expert, or staff, what is the next step in the process, and what is the process for this board suggesting changes to any of these scenarios?
So I think at this point, this is just a discussion item. The board, and correct me, Paul, if I'm incorrect there is no requirement to have any additional public hearings or anything in this process. So, but if the board has adjustments or recommendations to the maps, we can work with the demographers to update those and bring back other versions. If there are changes, it would be recommended, I think, to allow opportunity for the public to view those and have public, review via the website like we did initially, and then the board could take action at the next meeting.
Thank you.
Mr. President.
Yes, Mr. Sharp.
I did have a question on scenario 3. I noticed in area, you're talking about the total variance of 3.7%. Area trustee 4 had the larger variance of negative 2.3. Is it possible to adjust that to be more at par? Does that going to make a difference on the school side or not or anything? I don't know. But that's in the Rancho Cordova area over there for Mr. Clark. Is there a reason the negative 2.3? Could that be adjusted? Is my question. Could be at par, like 0. Huh?
This is Scott.
Yeah.
It definitely could be looked at. I'm looking around it, so it's just got area 2 and area 5 to be able to go to.
Yeah.
So, or to have take some of those.
Yeah.
Area 5 is at 1%. 1%. Yeah, it could be looked at if that's what you direct us to do.
Yeah, I would be. Yeah, just if you're talking about adjustments, that just makes a little sense. I don't know. I mean, it's up to the rest of my colleagues.
Mr. Hoover?
Mr. Short, sorry, I don't want to cut you off if you're... No, okay. I do have a suggestion, if that is the case, and I actually, since you brought it up, I think I had a suggested change as well, and maybe they could go together, I'm not sure, but what are we on here? Scenario 3? So if you go to the portion of trustee area 1, the change that was made from the previous or from the current map. I personally would like the support of the board to change this. Currently, I think the map makes a lot more sense because Blue Ravine and Green Valley Road are kind of a traditional geographic boundary between the current Area 1 district and Area 2 district, because once you cross over that road, you're actually moving into Empire Ranch, which is now you're splitting off a portion of Empire Ranch and putting it with the rest of Area 1, when I think it makes a lot more sense to continue the kind of traditional geographic boundary there of Blue Ravine Road and keeping Empire Ranch together in the same trustee area. And so I don't know if the solution is to readjust that back to Blue Ravine Road and then perhaps grow trustee area 4 a little bit here to make up for that increase in trustee area 2. And then if there is a need to increase population in trustee area 1, I think it makes more sense to do it. It's hard for me to see on this version of the map, but on the interactive version, there is a triangle portion here with some apartments that I think would make more sense in trustee area 1 than moving a portion of Empire Ranch in. So that would be my suggestion, and I definitely would appreciate the support of the board on that change.
And Board President?
Yes, Mr.
I mean, I think it makes a lot of sense. I would add, it's not just Empire Ranch, but Parkway gets split right in half in this scenario as well.
Yeah.
So I think keeping those together makes sense.
All right. Yeah, I have just a couple of questions, and I think I can visualize what you're saying, Mr. Hoover. I think you're saying in Trustee Area 3, there's a triangular shape. Looks like the dividing line is East Bidwell. It looks like it's the part of Trustee Area 3, which is across the street from, essentially across the street from Folsom Middle School. So it would be basically taking East Bidwell and make that the dividing line rather than have Trustee Area cross East Bidwell. I think that's what you're looking at. Is that right?
I think so, yeah, that would make sense, I think.
Okay. I did have a question for the demographer. So, all right, so we need to get the variance down to at least 10% or less. There are two districts here that are basically at full build out, full capacity. There's going to be no construction in those districts, and that's Trustee Area 1 and Trustee Area 4. What we have here with the 3.9 variance that you're suggesting in at least scenario 2 and I think scenario 3, you're pulling all the districts basically even based on 2020 numbers. Is there a reason, and maybe we can't legally do this, but is there a reason why we wouldn't take Trustee Area 1 and Trustee Area 4, where we know that there's going to be no significant population growth because they're at full build-out, and add population to that, perhaps grow the variance to larger than 3.9, but less than 10.0, and have District 1 and 4 with a greater population than districts 2, 3, and 5, because we know within 5 years, because of the significant population growth or development that's taking place in Area 2 and Area 5, and depending on how we draw Area 3 there as well, that, at least by the time we get to 2030, the population will be more, I guess, closer, because if we go with the scenario either 2 or 3, or I guess 1, even 1 for that regard, by the time we get to 2030, we're going to have areas 2 and 5 and maybe 3 significantly larger in population than the Trustee Area 4 and 1. So I just I just wanted to ask that question: is that even possible to purposely have two districts with a larger population to counteract the population growth?
Yes, it is possible in theory. In practice, it might be difficult to do. For example, in this Trustee Area 5, we can pull in all areas, but it's not going to change the variance at this point too much because there's nothing there. And so it's only based on the 2020 census. So yeah, we could potentially do that, maybe give some of Trustee Area 5 to Trustee Area 4, and maybe give some of 3 to 1 and move into these areas. It can be done. In practice, it's maybe difficult to do.
Okay.
You may not get the results you want.
All right, got it. Yeah, no, I was just, when I look at Area 4, I frequently think of Trustee Area 4 as the trustee area that represents north of Highway 50 in Rancho Cordova, which is, I guess, a natural dividing line, but obviously on these maps is not the dividing line. So I was just thinking that if that, potentially grow Trustee Area 4, but to your point, it may not be possible. So, all right, well, let's, unless there's any more board questions, let's go open it for public comment. I don't have any cards. Is there anybody online wishing to speak?
No, Mr. President.
Whoa, sorry.
Okay, no one online. Okay, so bring it back to the board for any final questions or comments by the board. Ms. Gao?
No comment at this time.
Okay, Mr. Hui?
No.
Mr. Short?
Yeah, I just saying, I like the ideas of just the adjustments, and hopefully they can make those minor adjustments, and hopefully we'll see those little tweaks here.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
yeah, a lot of growth in a little short period of time.
Sure.
That's all I can say.
Let's see, Mr. Clark?
I just agree with the suggestions by Vice President Hoover and Board Member Short on the adjustments to see if we can pull that off with those numbers.
Okay, and Mr. Hoover?
Yeah, so I guess my question or my comment is what direction, it seems like we're trying to give some feedback on some version of scenario 3. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay. So I think it seems like the consensus seems around some version of scenario 3, but with some tweaks. So with that in mind, I think at least the direction I would give for the area 1 kind of area would be to make Blue Ravine Road the end line for on the right side of the map. And then potentially, if we're looking to future, kind of create some future growth room for some other districts, we could bring area 1 down into
That triangle.
area.
That triangle area?
The triangle, or even more, depending on what they need to do to, to even out the variances into area 3. But yeah, I would definitely recommend and concur with these suggestions.
All right. And I would agree with what my colleagues indicated. Obviously, I guess my question would have probably been a little bit too disruptive, and certainly don't want to do that. But I do like the idea of minor tweaks. And it looks like we could perhaps ask the demographer to come back at the next meeting with a scenario 4, which builds off of scenario 3. With some minor tweaks that were described to District 1, perhaps a little bit, adding a little bit more population to Trustee Area 4. And then obviously we give districts, looks like 2, 3, and 5 room to grow based on upcoming population growth. So is that good for direction for staff?
Yeah, I think we've got it. So I think what we're looking at is in scenario 1, that change from trustee area 2 to 1, we want to not do that change, but maybe look at taking some of area 3 and allocating to area 1 based off of that triangle area to get area 1 up. And then that will then, of course, adjust area 3, and area 2 there'll have to be some adjustment there to balance those numbers out. And then you would like to expand area 4 potentially into area 2 as well a little bit. So we'll work on all of those scenarios and give you another option there on that.
All right.
So, is that right?
And honestly, I thought all 3 scenarios were great. I do think scenario 3 makes the most sense, at least the ones that we've seen because of the population growth. But I think, with a 4th option, that will give the board some viable options to take a look at.
And the board is okay with having a variance as long as it's under the 10%, with the idea of maybe building in some of the future growth so that you may have a situation where area 4, trustee area 4 and trustee area 1 may end up being a little bit larger with the intent.
I would say if
they're
the
not gonna gain.
demographers have ideas on that too, to incorporate, and make that work,
Okay.
We're not the experts on that, so.
The only other thing is, I know on going from trustee area 4 over to trustee area 2, right in that area, there is a lot of school campuses. And so if a school does change trustee areas, is that something you want us to stay away from?
I don't think it matters.
I think we all represent, yeah.
Okay.
I think.
Yeah.
Very good. Okay, so we'll keep that in mind as well. Perfect, thank you.
Matter.
All right. Good. All right. Then this was just for discussion, no action. So that takes us to agenda item 12, which is discussion and action. Item A, approve summer school 2022 courses offered. Superintendent Clegan, will you introduce the item?
Yes, it's this time of the year that we bring forward our list of courses for summer school. And in an ongoing effort to help our high school students with credit recovery or options for an impacted schedule for the next school year, and also in coordination with students receiving their first semester grades, we bring forward a list of courses for the summer school for 2022. Middle school, we're also offering math and English instructional support, and students would be identified to attend summer school at one of the middle schools in Rancho and one of the middle schools in Folsom. And with that, we have the courses listed for you as an attachment, and can answer any questions that the board may have, either myself or Dr. Huber.
All right, going to the board for questions. Do any of the board members have questions on this item? All right, we'll open it for public comment. I have no cards. Are there any individuals online? No individuals online. All right, back to the board for any final comments or questions.
Mr. President?
Yes, Mr. Clark.
I'd like to make a motion to support staff's recommendation.
All right, we have a motion by Mr. Clark. Second by Mr. Short.
Second, I gotta keep turning this on.
Second by Mr. Short. Superintendent, will you call the roll?
Yes, Ms. Gao?
Aye.
Mr. Short?
Aye.
Mr. Reed?
Aye.
Mr. Hoover?
Aye.
Mr. Clark?
Aye.
Mr. Hui?
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. Thank you.
All right, now we'll move on to item 12B, approve Educator Effectiveness Block Grant Plan. Superintendent Kaligian, will you introduce the item?
Yes, this item was brought before the board in a public hearing at our November 18th meeting, and Ms. Carlomagno gave us a presentation. It's also attached with the overview of how those dollars can be used. Our district is eligible for $4.6 million in a 5-year grant. And pending board approval tonight, the district would then move forward with seeking input from our partners and be able to receive these funds by spring 2022.
Okay, thank you. Are there any board questions? Okay, seeing none, open for public comments. No cards. Anyone online?
No, Mr. Reed.
No one online. Back to the board for any final comments. Is there a motion?
I'll move it.
Motion by Mr. Short.
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Hoover. Superintendent, will you call the roll, please?
Yes, Ms. Gao?
Aye.
Mr. Short?
Aye.
Mr. Reed?
Aye.
Mr. Hoover?
Aye.
Mr. Clark?
Aye.
Mr. Hui?
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
All right, the next item is 12C, approve 2021 to 2022 first interim financial report, period ending October 31st, 2021. Superintendent Kaligian, will you introduce the item?
Yes, we are required to provide interim financial reports twice a year. So this is the time of the year that we bring you the first interim report, and it represents the actual revenue and expenditures as of October 31st, 2021, and projects the financial condition of our district at June 30th, 2022. With that, I'll introduce Mr. Sean Martin, who has a brief presentation.
Thank you. So this evening, what we'll be doing is presenting first interim, which is an update from our adopted budget, as Dr. Kaligian shared. The way we like to do the presentation is really talk about, from adopted budget, what has changed, and highlight those areas. And so we're just going to go through this. This is a little different format than the board has had in the past, and so it's a working document where we'll continue to update as the board sees fit when it comes to how the budget is developed. But the intent here is really just to give you an overview of those changes. So let's see if I can get this to there. Page 2. Go ahead. And so this first tab is just kind of a boilerplate that just talks about the budget status. What you're actually approving is not the presentation, but the SACS documents, the 160 pages that we send over to Sacramento County Office of Ed. What happens is when we look at the budget, we look at the end on the multi-year projection, if we will have sufficient reserves to meet our economic reserve balance of 3% for the current year and the next 2 years. And if we can do that, then we are in a positive status. If not, if we cannot make it within the next 2 years, then we can be qualified. And if we can't make it in the current year, we can be negative depending on the financial situation of the district. So we are recommending a positive status. We have sufficient reserves. Even though we will be projected deficit spending, we will have sufficient reserves to meet all of our economic reserve of 3%. So go ahead, hit the next one. We spend time talking about enrollment attendance because it is a primary driver of funding for our district. And so you're all familiar with the local control funding formula, and we'll be looking at that on the next slide. But enrollment and attendance is how we get funded under the LCFF. And so 75% of our ongoing revenues come from this calculation. And so it's so critical that we analyze and monitor how our enrollment attendance is going. Oh, thank you. For the year. And so what you have here is just a presentation, or a graph, I should say, of the bars are showing your enrollment for each school year. And then the red line is the funded ADA. We get funded on the grader of the current year or prior year ADA. And so you do see in 2021 that blue bar dropping, and that's obviously last year, the COVID year, and the impacts of that. Now, however, you notice that the red line stays flat not only for that year, but the following year. And the reason for that is we've been held harmless by the state.
Yeah.
Right. And so the blue bar for 21-22 is the current year. You see our enrollment there. Now, this is only enrollment for our general ed, special ed programs, not including charter, county office programs, adult ed, preschool. This is just what really funds our general fund. And so you can see those numbers and see the red bar. However, you see the red bar dipping next year, because next year we will have to take the grader of the current year or prior year, and we're planning on current year, but you see that that bar is lower than back in 1920 and 2021. You see the blue bar was higher there. We were up over about 300 kids higher than what we're projecting for next year. And the red bar bounces back up a little bit, funding goes back up, but it's still not to the same level. So we are going to be losing funding of about 300 ADA next year. And so we, in a sense, we are kind of in a declining enrollment situation, which as a school district is never a financial benefit for us, because as we lose kids, that funding level drops as well. So that's an important slide for us to look at. This is a LCFF calculation. So I don't know if you guys have actually seen this before, but this is actually the calculation on how we get funded. And so just going across, we get funded for ADA, including county office programs, students that are students in county office programs. And so that's what the ADA calculation is. Then we get an amount per student, and you can see it's broken down by grade span. So there's a different amount for each grade, and it goes up as students get up in higher grades, because obviously materials and costs go up, and there's more student contacts, things of that nature. You see there's an add-on for, it's a TK through third grade grade span adjustment. Really, that's what we used to call class size reduction, to keep those programs at 24-1. We get an add-on for those students. And then we also get some additional funds for CTE at the high school level. Then we get the supplemental add-on. And if we had a high enough unduplicated pupil count, we would actually get concentration funds, but we don't get that in our district. You have to be over 55%. And so the way the supplemental funding is it's a funding source specifically for our unduplicated pupils, which is our free and reduced student, socioeconomically disadvantaged students, our English language learners, and our foster youth. It's obviously identified that those students need additional services to help them. And so there is an additional 20% allocation that we receive for those. So we get a 20% add-on, and only 35% of our population qualifies into one of those categories. So that's why that factor has that 35% in there. And so that's the add-on we are getting per student at each of those grade levels for that funding. And then supplemental dollars are then the dollars that we talk about in the Lcap process, and talking about how we distribute those funds out to those students of need. So you see the total funding by student by grade level, and then that gets you your ADA amount. Those green ones are some add-ons. Those are kind of grandfathered in. There's no COLA. They're not actually even associated with those programs really anymore at this point. They're just add-ons because they were trying to balance the program when they created the LCFF. So you see our total allocation is about $192 million. And then we do, as a district, we transfer some of our funds to Fund 14, which is a deferred maintenance pot. When the state rolled all of the categoricals into LCFF, the district decided to continue to allocate those funds to continue maintaining our facilities. And those are the replacement of roofs and carpet, things of that nature is what goes to the deferred maintenance fund. And then also you see at the very end, there is an allocation to the county office. That's for the ADA that's included in our number, but really is for county office program. So we pass that through. So there's about $1 million there. So that's more or less the LCFF calculation, just kind of in a quick nutshell. So just sharing that with everybody. So now what we're going to be looking at is what has changed from adopted budget to first interim, and we're going to break it out into kind of a couple of different slides. We're going to look at revenues first, then we'll look at expenditures. And within the revenues, I broke them out into unrestricted, restricted, and combined. And I think it really is important that we understand that we get revenues in kind of two major pots. The restricted side are things like special education and funding sources like our title programs, federal funds. Those are pots where they have been given to us, but given specific parameters of how we can use those funds, right? With the discretion on it is limited in nature. We can maybe decide how we want to program those funds, but who the funds may be a service and how a lot of times are defined not by the district, but by an outside agency. On the other side, the yellow boxes are our unrestricted funds. That's really the pot of money where we get to decide what are our priorities. What are we going to staff with? What are we going to buy with supplies or services or activities? And so we have flexibility. So a lot of times when we talk about choices about where we have to do reductions or we have to add program, that's coming from that yellow box. And that's why that's the primary area that we want to focus. So I wanted to break it out for us so that we can define the unrestricted from restricted, because we do have a lot of restricted dollars right now, especially with the COVID dollars. And so, but those are one time in nature. And so it skews the monies that we're receiving when you see it all lumped into one. So we wanted to break it out. So on the unrestricted side, the primary funding source, as we talked about, is LCFF. You see a decrease there. And that's because for the current year, we had a ADA adjustment. So we were held harmless for our main ADA, but we have additional ADAs for county office and non-public school placement that's based off a current year. And so we had an adjustment there. So, and that lowers the number. Also, our unduplicated percentage lowered a little bit. That calculation is based off of people completing either a free and reduced application, direct certification, being an AL student. And this year was the first year of universal meals. And so the federal government made it so that everybody eats for free. Well, when that happened, there isn't really an incentive to fill out a free and reduced application. We shared that with you guys. And next year, the state is planning to also provide universal meals through the state program. When that happens, we don't really have the incentive to get people to complete the form that helps us identify them to get supplemental dollars. And so we have to find another way of doing that using an alternative income form. So we put something in place this year that streamlined the process, and we got right around 34, almost 35%, where we've historically been over 36%. So we know we lost, and that's why our funding dropped a little bit because of that. And so we're really going to make a targeted effort next year to try to get as much response as we can from our families to making them understand that these services, such as counselors, aides, intervention teachers, those support services come from that notification. And so even though they may not need to fill it out for a free and reduced application for food, there's still benefits happening for their children. And so we have to work on that this next year and hopefully keep that number up above that 36% or so. So we did lose a little revenue from that as well. The local income, you can see a small adjustment, $200,000, and that's just recognizing that we have activities like transportation fees and facility use where we just don't have the same usage because of COVID. So we budgeted at a higher number than we're anticipating coming in. On the restricted side, you see a lot of revenue coming in, almost over $19 million in the federal income, and that is recognition of all of the COVID ESSER 2 and ESSER 3 dollars. We brought to the board the plan for the ESSER 3 dollars. Also, we have carryover in our title programs, Title 1 through 4, and the way the state makes us recognize it, we defer the revenue when we don't spend it, meaning we don't recognize revenue, and then next year we show that revenue. So we have title program funds. Again, partially that is a lot of those programs are funded with staff, and they were funded last year. And with COVID, we didn't have all of those positions filled. We didn't have all the services. And so we had quite a bit of carryover. And so that's what that $19 million is. Other state income, very similar thing. We're getting some special funding with regards to special ed. We have some training opportunities. Betty Jo actually brought to you a plan for those funds that have already gone, and then some additional COVID dollars from the state. And then on the local side, you see Measure H, which is a grant through Rancho Cordova, through the city from a tax. And then some other activities, we actually got a rebate for some of the HVAC projects that we did with COVID dollars last year. We actually got a rebate back from SMUD for some of those projects, which was great. So, And then what you see is all of those dollars being combined, and that's what the green is. And so you're looking at adopted to first interim and that change, and you can see income revenue went up about $23 million, which is great, but you can see that that is really because it's on the restricted side. It really is those categorical pots. And so it's important to recognize that that's not really money that's available for us to, there is some flexibility in it, and it's one-time funds for COVID, but it's not something where we can just expand program or use it for any service we choose. We really have a defined pot for specific needs. So, any questions on that before I continue on?
Yeah, Mr. President.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, Sean, thank you for that. I just had a question about the, I guess, the free and reduced lunch forms that they're filling out. Do we know what percentage of the ESL families are filling those out?
ESL?
Yeah.
I don't know if I would be able to have that information, because normally when we do the free and reduced application, we're not allowed to disaggregate that by socioeconomic or race or any of those things. It's just the way the protected information is. So I don't know if.
But I'm just wondering, okay, I guess my question would be, how are we disseminating that information out to those families?
So the communication, you mean, just
Yeah.
about the application process?
Yeah.
So what we did was, and this year we streamlined the process and used our InfoSnap, which is our registration software, and then also the software that the parent portal, and I'm forgetting the name of the program what that's called, but the parent portal that they log into to see their students' grades. We created a form where they could go in and complete it online right there. And then we also had the ability where the staff could call families or talk to a family member and take that information over the phone. There was a waiver that was allowed for that. So we did both of those processes, and we worked with the ETIS team and created reports that we could give to sites and tell them who didn't complete the form, and we were trying to follow. So we were really trying to be proactive. However, we were kind of behind the eight ball. We didn't really get that rolling until probably it was about September, and office staff was so bombarded with independent study contracts and everything else and all the COVID tracing that we know we didn't have all of the resources we could have to really maximize that. So we are planning to do that next year.
Okay, great, thank you.
And we also offered translation in several different languages and our staff to help with translating services for those families that needed it.
Okay, great, thank you.
Continue?
Yeah. And so it's a very similar format. Here's the expenditure side. What I would notify you guys on the expenditure side is we had a significant salary settlement, a 2-year settlement that occurred right at June. And so that information was not included in the adopted budget. And so you're going to see a significant increase in expenditures in relationship to that. If you remember, all the union groups, all bargaining groups received a 2-year settlement. And so when you look at the ongoing budget, that settlement for 1920 and 2021 I'm sorry, 2021 and 21-22 are now doubled up into this year. And then additionally, since then, we also had an additional settlement with our classified groups, if you guys remember from earlier in the year, that had a significant adjustment. So all of those combined increased our salaries quite a bit. So the funny thing is these numbers are actually lower than what the actual increase was because we have so many unfilled positions. So if you, what we did for budget purposes is we took the positions that were unfilled and we've more or less cut them in half of the cost. So there's actually, when we look at the multi-year, you're going to see additional positions being added back as well on top of that. So this is kind of hidden of how much of the extra cost was for all of those settlements, but they are there. So, but you can see expenditures increased on the unrestricted side, almost $8 million, $7.8 million. And then on the restricted side, you see it goes up $31 million. And the reason for that is correspondingly, you saw all the revenues that increased on the restricted side. And the way we balance restricted programs in our district is when we receive an award for a categorical pot of money, we budget for the full award amount, and then we budget for the full expenditure. And so you're seeing an increase in both. And so what happens is by the time we get to the end of the year, we don't normally always spend all that. And then you see a bunch of money fall out on the restricted side. So it always looks like there's a big ending fund balance dropout. And normally it's because of the restricted side of the house. And you can see, I think on the previous slide, we only had $23 million in revenue, but on the expenditure side, we see $31 million in expense. And that's because we had $8 million of carryover from last year that we are budgeting for this year. So that's the expenses are budgeted, just the methodology that education does it. We balance the resource so that both sides balance. And then when we don't spend the money, then the money falls out and we carry it in an ending balance. And so you see a big jump there, and you can see the breakdown of the programs associated with that. And so when you add it all up, the grand total at the green, we have about a $39 million increase in expense. And so obviously expenditures grew at a faster rate than revenues. You're going to see that in a combination here of what that means. And it means we went from having a structural surplus at adopted budget, because again, none of those salary settlements were in there, all of the other things that we talked about, to a deficit. And so you go see it goes from, and I highlighted the yellow because that's that unrestricted group that we were talking about before. And you can see it went from about $8 million in the black to about 1.6 million in the red. So we have a deficit there. Now, I did note that there are unfilled positions currently for this year. We know we have, I don't remember now, it's several hundred unfilled positions in the district, but we still have them budgeted at least for half the year, a good chunk of them. And so what will happen is, if we don't end up filling those positions for this year, the expenditures will decrease. And so that's deficit of 1.6. I think there's a high likelihood that that's going to get smaller on the unrestricted side as we progress throughout the year. When we come in at second interim, we'll update that to have a better reflection. If those positions are still open, we'll reduce it to a few months left. And correspondingly, that will lower the expenses. The thing we have to recognize, though, is in the following year, we hope to fill all those positions, which means expenditures are going to jump up from what we're projecting for this year because we bring those positions back, right? And so it makes the budget very volatile. This is perhaps one of the most volatile budgets I've ever dealt with, just because of all of the COVID dollars, all of the staffing adjustments, all of the settlements on top of it. There was a lot of pieces moving with this budget this year. So, and then so when we look at this, we do have an ending fund balance of about $48 million at first interim. That's the ending balance of the unrestricted of 43 million plus about another 5 million on the restricted side. That gets you the 48 million. And so the next slide, we're just going to talk about what makes up that $48 million, right? And so you see restricted accounts is about 4.7 million. We do have, in our ending fund balance, we do recognize some of the cash with fiscal agent. So we have, if you remember, we used to have a fund specifically set aside for other post-retirement benefits and pension costs, and we sent money off and put that into an investment account. That was allocated into two different pots. The other post-employment benefits we don't report on here at all because of how that pot is set in a special trust fund. This other pot, we do recognize, but it is still in a trust fund. It can only be used for PERS and STIRS. But because the district has some control over it with regards to options, we have to recognize it in our ending fund balance. It's more of an accounting requirement than anything. That investment was about 2 years old, and it was originally $5 million. You can see we've had a nice return on that. It's about 5.8 million now. And so that's a great return in a 2-year time. And so that's just recognized there. And that's a committed account, meaning the board took action to put that money aside. The rest of these items are assigned, meaning that we've made recommendations to assign these for specific activities, but the board hasn't taken a formal action to commit these for something. And so you see different pots there. Those are local resources that we have created that have tiny balances in them. So, and then we have some set-asides. One is for Chromebooks. That was a set-aside that we have in place. I think long-term, we would like to talk about building the budget so that we have a cycle for replacing Chromebooks. The district has bought large purchases of Chromebooks at one time. And of course, that means all of them come due at the same time when they expire out from your Google licensing. What we'd like to do is build a budget so that we're replacing several grade levels each year. So we, really Chromebooks at this point for us are consumables, right? They're built in, they're part, just like a pencil or paper, there's something that we expect to have, and we have to have a replacement cycle. And so we're going to be looking at trying to build that into the budget as an ongoing item versus trying to find when we have windfalls of one-time money to pay for those things. And then the last one is what we normally do is any remaining funds that we don't have specific assignments for, we put a set aside for the following year because we know we have unknown costs and structural deficits and other things. And so that's what that 16 million is. And when you look at the multi-year, you'll see that we have a structural deficit of about 10 million for the following 2 years. And so that will eat up that set aside very quickly. And then finally, you see our 3% reserve. It's about $8 million, a little over $8 million. And so that's how the 48 million of our reserve funds have been allocated. Any questions on that? One of the things that we will be coming to the board as we build for next year's budget, one of the laws that have put in place is that now that all of the triggers have occurred, we will be required to not exceed a 10% ending fund balance that is not either committed or restricted. And so we will be having to take action as a board to move some of these items that are assigned by board action to move them up into the committed column, meaning we've taken specific action, it's allocated for a purpose, and it cannot be released for anything except for the board acted action item. Whereas these assigned items, we can use for other flexible purposes. And so that will be something that you may have heard through CSBA that we may have to do here in next year.
President, I got a question.
Yes, Mr. Short.
Yeah, quick, you were talking about the Chromebook set aside to the reoccurring replacement costs. We usually have like a 5-year technological plan. Is that, do we also have a residual replacement cost for our overall replacement of all of our infrastructure?
You know,
5 years or 3 years or whatever.
I've been talking with Mr. Stone, David, and
Yeah.
also Pam Oyen, and so we are working on doing that. I think
Okay.
what we have been doing is every year they do have large costs, servers, filter systems. And what happens is each year it normally is they buy a big piece of equipment and then it's a 5-year
Right, 5-year.
payout. And so what we're going to be working on is trying to build it so that if it's a 5-year cost that we buy in 1 year, we're going to, just like the Chromebooks, we'll split it out over 5 years and then
Excellent.
either pay it and do a prepaid expense with it,
Right.
or reserve it and then
Right.
have the money available when we
Perfect.
buy it.
That
So
way
we are
we're-
working on that process. And that's
Perfect.
not just for technology. There's a lot of
Right. Oh, there's
departments
a
where
lot,
we do
yeah.
that process.
Perfect, thank you.
Yeah. So now we're going to roll over from just looking at the current year to looking at the multi-year. And as part of the budget process, we have to look at not the current year, but the next 2 years out as well. And so again, this is kind of breaking out revenues and expenditures. I didn't break out unrestricted and restricted just for time, and otherwise you'd have 5 more slides, but give you kind of an idea of what we're looking at here. You can see on the revenue side, you have your first interim and then projected for next year and the following year. You see that LCFF over the 2 years increases each year. Not a significant increase next year, and that's primarily because we're losing 300 ADA. If we didn't lose that 300 ADA, we'd be getting a significantly larger pot of money in the LCFF. But you see in 23-24, we do see a nice increase because we get a full COLA, and we do actually get a slight increase, about 177 ADA. Federal revenues, you see those drop, and state revenues both dropping. That's because of those COVID dollars and also some of those deferred revenues for our title programs being removed. And so this is getting more in line. And the reason why on the federal you see 13.8 and then another 6.4 is we're planning to spend those COVID dollars over a 2-year span. And so the revenues for that are recognized in the year in which we spend them. So we're spending some in each year for breaking down for that. And then you can see our factors that we use. We have a COLA factor for each year, and we are projecting a lower COLA for next year. I will say that the Legislative Analyst's Office has come out, and they're projecting a COLA for next year of up over 5%, but that hasn't actually been processed through. We use the school services dartboard and the common message that comes from the county office, and so we're still being conservative with that. However, if we were to get the 5% COLA, that would be equate to about another $5 million over what we're projecting for revenues. So that, I think that's realistic that that's going to occur, and potentially some additional state dollars. So when we look at the multi-year, you're going to see a pretty good deficit, but know that some additional revenues will be coming our way. Okay. Expenditures, you can see that the salaries do go up. It's certificated, only looks like it only goes up a little bit, $500,000, but that's partially because we're removing COVID positions that we were paying for in 21-22. So like extra duty activities like that, we were paying a lot of activities over the summer programs, extra duties. We're buying a lot of preps right now. Once we pull all those things out, those COVID related activities, it skews. Certificate salaries are actually going up higher than that. And you can see it on the classified side and the benefits side as well. So, and then you see on the books and supplies and all the other accounts going down, you see the expenditures dropping because that's, again, all of those categorical expenditures that we have all these monies for, carryover, COVID, that now we're removing those expenses. So now we're getting back down to year-over-year expenditure versus carryover expenditures or one-time expenditures. And so it drops the number down. The other thing I would recognize is the PERS and STRS rates are anticipated to go up quite a bit next year. PERS is going to go up 3%. And that's huge. I mean, that's 3% on our classified salaries. And so we're talking, millions of dollars when you start adding up all these things on the STRS side as well. STRS in 23-24 is flat. PERS is still continuing to go. So we're hoping that hopefully maybe some of the one-time funds that we receive is allocated to maybe buy down some of this rate, prepay that so that the rate can stabilize for a more extended period of time. On the multi-year projection, you can see here that when you combine everything, I probably want to look at the blue in the bottom section first for the unrestricted first by itself. You can see that $1.6 million deficit for this year, and then you see it jump up to $10 million. And I will always tell everybody, a multi-year projection is a projection, right? We have a lot of unknowns in that. We are projecting our enrollment for next year. We're projecting the staffing for next year. We're projecting what the state's going to do with the COLA. And as I said, I think when we look at 22-23, the COLA is going to be better than what we projected. Also in 22-23, we projected filling all of our vacant positions right now. That's probably not going to happen, right? So there could be some savings associated with that. So I think very easily this $10 million structural deficit on the unrestricted side is probably going to be somewhere in that $3 million range, depending on how everything trickles out and how the state allocates money. If they give it to us for PERS and STIRS and buy down that rate, that's at least $1.8 million to $2.5 million, depending on how they buy that down. That would create savings to us as an ongoing benefit. So what we try to do is, we are normally conservative on the revenues, flat on our expenditures, which means we normally always get a deficit because just the way we project, right? And then as we get closer to it and we build the budget, hopefully we get to a spot where the numbers look better. But at this point, we do have a deficit, but we do have reserves, sufficient reserves. We would still have 23 million, which would leave us about 10% of our unrestricted ending fund balance as a total of all expenditures on the third year out. And we definitely make our 3% reserve, which is right under $8 million in 23-24. We'd have about 23 million and some change there available. So in closing, we are positive. We have a lot of unknowns that hopefully when in January we'll get the governor's budget. That'll give us some information. We're going to start working on staffing and building budget for next year. I think one of the questions at the last time I presented was about zero-based budgeting. We are planning to work with every department and the sites to build budgets, kind of working upwards. That's kind of the zero-based budget model where we sit down with them and talk about their priorities and needs. And, I think in some ways we may see some savings from that, but at the same time, as we talked about, like with with Chromebooks and some of those pieces, we may see some increased cost to our budget because we're trying to really recognize our ongoing cost versus trying to wait until something breaks or something is needed, and then we have a large one-time purchase versus having an ongoing structural budget that reflects all of our needs. And so that model will be interesting as we build through that with the team. So we are meeting with the Budget Advisory Committee. The first meeting is in January, and I have some information on that on the next one, and then we're working with staff and then also the Lcap process. And so the next steps, we have our first Budget Advisory Committee meeting on the 25th. And then we have meetings throughout the spring there. And then the stakeholder forums, I know Elena and I were working on getting the dates with those, and she shared some dates with me. And so she's starting that process, and I think she's hoping to meet with all the stakeholder groups through February here. And so Ms. Cabrera will be handling that part. And so we'll be back in March, and then we'll come in the adoption cycle through June.
All right. Any additional board questions? Ms. Gal?
How big is that gap between like the 36% of the unduplicated pupil status in previous years and like the percent of our district that is like actually unduplicated?
Well, that's a great question. So what I would say is that our number, and I think across the state, people would recognize that the way we find the unduplicated pupil percentage is underreporting our true number of students that have those needs. EL students are probably pretty well identified because of the fact that we have a program specifically to identify EL and test them out. But on the socioeconomically disadvantaged, as what we normally see is as students get older and get up into middle school and high school, the percentage is lower, which means they just don't apply for the services or the form. I think there is a stigma associated with applying for free and reduced lunch. And so as students get older, the same cohort of students will go from maybe a higher number in kindergarten, I'm just making a number like 40%, as they get older. By the time they get to middle school, it's 35%. And then by the time they're high school, it's under 30%. And it's just lack of reporting of information. How do we don't know though what our true number would be. Because obviously if they're not reporting, we could do some analysis where we look at the numbers at lower grades and then extrapolate that up. But I don't think there is a really clean way to know what our true unduplicated pupil percentage would be or need percentage would be, just because we don't have a way to track that information.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Hui?
Yeah, we're on the same wavelength there. I had a question as well about the unduplicated students. You mentioned that it looks like we're at 35.62, and you made it sound like above 51%, that number gets quite a bit larger. Is that right?
Oh, you mean about extra funding wise?
Correct.
Yeah, so it's 55%, and that's what was called concentration funding.
Yeah. Do you have any idea what that formula looks like? How much different it is?
So formula-wise, what would happen is you would get an additional 60% for every student that's above, the percentages that is above 55%. So it's a lot, and you're getting that original 20% too. So in essence, you get like an 80% bump. And so it's significant dollars. And at last year's budget, they increased it from 50 to 60%. And so definitely there is a need for those students. But what I think what we're advocating for, and you'll see this, is that we add more dollars to the base instead of to the concentration of supplemental, because all students, I think right now, especially with the current needs from COVID and mental health and all of those pieces, I think all students need those resources. And so we're asking for a bump to the base level, which also increases the supplemental and concentration because it's a percentage of the base.
Mm-hmm. Right. So last thing, on the supplemental, those numbers go into the unrestricted account, correct?
They go in unrestricted dollar. They're under the yellow when it comes to unrestricted revenues, but we restrict them as a district and allocate them specifically for supplemental services. And then that's where the Lcap comes in to tell us how to spend those dollars.
Perfect. Yeah, maybe when we talk more about the Lcap, I just, the rest of the board would be interested. I would love to be able to look at that number and how we're making sure that we're getting the money back into, the areas that we need it to go into, rather than into this unrestricted account. I realize we're doing that, but it would be great to see a presentation on, how that's actually working and what it looks like.
Right, and on the ending fund balance, we do have a set aside of almost $6.5 million for supplemental funds. So we ensure it's not as though we sweep the dollars or anything. We make sure that those dollars, just like as a restricted resource, are allocated to those students.
Right, great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Short? Any questions? No. Okay. Mr. Clark, any questions?
Yeah, just one quick one, Sean. I know you mentioned the Lcap stakeholder forums. How many of those do you plan on having?
Great
or
question.
Better
Elena,
yet, geographically, where do you plan on having those meetings, or are we going to do those via Zoom?
You know what? I would have to defer to Ms. Cabrera on how the meetings, and I think she already left this evening, but we can get that information for you on the schedule. I actually got an email from her this afternoon of the dates, and they're scheduled,
Okay, thank you.
scheduled in January and February. She's really wanting to get early with all of the stakeholders.
Okay, great.
Okay, Mr. Hoover?
Yeah, thank you, Sean. First of all, thanks for that, breakdown of by grade level and ADA. Those were some really helpful visuals, I think. And I also really like the idea of the kind of ongoing or more consistent Chromebook replacement strategy. I think those are some, and I'd also concur with Mr. Hui. I would love to also see kind of an update at some point on where those supplemental dollars are going, and kind of just to really update the board on, we obviously bring these dollars in because we have a certain, students that need that assistance. And so I think it would be really helpful to see where that money's going. And so I would definitely love to see that as well. What are our growth projections based on? So obviously we have this dip. So we have this dip next school year, but we're projecting growth. Is that just growth in student population from development, or what are some of those bases based on?
Sure, and just going back to your Lcap, in February, we will actually be bringing an Lcap supplemental update that Ms. Carrera will be presenting, and so that will have information about what we're spending this year.
Awesome.
With regards to enrollment, what we historically do is, the hardest number to project is your kindergarten number.
Mm-hmm.
And so what we normally do is use a combination of historical and live birth rates to get an idea there. And then between grades, you bring your cohorts down. First grade goes on second grade. On average, we gain about a 2% between grade levels, give or take. We do lose students going from 5th to 6th grade, and we gain students going from 8th to 9th grade. as a district. So that's kind of the overall trends. And
Got
so
it.
we look at, past history and get an average and make assumptions for that. We also add in, based off of housing starts, how many new homes we project, and our facilities team does a great job with that. Jerry Wickham does amazing for us. And so we figure out kind of what we average out of a home, how many, 0.2 from a new home for a high school age kid, or a 0.1 or a 0.4. And so then we base that off of the housing starts that we're projecting, and we add those in by the grade level. And they're pretty darn good. And so that's what we use. So the real growth is from the new housing, and then we gain between grades. But what we are seeing overall is high school going out is greater than kindergarten coming in. So that's you're seeing across the state, this decline in overall student enrollment. And so if we did not have the housing starts that are more or less bringing that additional ADA enrollment and ADA in, we'd probably be a declining enrollment district for sure. So,
Are there any discussions happening, and this might not be for you, Sean, but obviously we're facing kind of a unique situation where, we've historically been a growing district, and I think, for a number of reasons, we've kind of declined the last couple of years. Are there any discussions going on about creating some new magnet programs or other ideas that obviously we could offer to our students as well, but maybe also that might be make other students in other districts interested in joining our district as well, and maybe increasing that enrollment?
Yeah, I'll take that one, because that's really the basis of our study session in January.
Okay.
And we'll look at some visioning for looking at existing innovative programs, and how do we either build on what we have or build something new that meets a need that we're currently not meeting. So that'll be a big piece of our study session.
Yeah, that's excellent, because, I think a lot of school districts may just be hoping for the best, but if there's any actionable steps we can take to even assist in this this projection or trajectory, that would be fantastic. And then I know that we're advocating as a district, or I think we are, I'm not sure, but an increase in the base grant. How likely do we think that is, and how helpful would that be to this kind of budgetary picture if that happens?
Very.
Okay.
I mean, obviously, ongoing funding that is unrestricted in nature, so that the priorities can be determined at the local level by you as a board, I think is always the best for our community and our district.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm really hoping for that for sure. And then my last question is regarding these free and reduced price lunch forms, or you said we might be creating a new form or something. Is there any way for, is there a legal issue or anything with providing some incentive to fill out that form? For example, like partnering, maybe raffle off a lunch with Sean Martin. I don't know, something like that. But or even partner with a local company or something with gift cards, or I don't know, something like that. But I was curious if there was any incentive we could provide, maybe in addition to just the, this would be really good for our district, maybe throwing.
No, we actually have plans for doing something like that.
Okay.
We are looking at that. We have a kind of a task force of team members that are involved in that.
That's great.
Additionally, we streamlined when we were able to go from the free and reduced application form, and if you've ever seen that form, it's intimidating.
Yeah.
It's harder than a 1040 EZ. And so we went to a form where it is literally the name of the student, how many people live in your home, and then it pre-populates with, is your income above or below a number? We literally got it down to 3 questions.
That'd be awesome.
So we were super excited for the structure of that form. The team worked on that.
That's great.
And ETI's created online. It was amazing. And so we're hoping that we can roll that out next year. We're still trying to clarify, because of the way the free and reduced application process will change next year with the state doing it. The state wants us to still use the old form because they want us to apply and get federal reimbursement first. So the state provides less, which means we might have to go back to the old form, which will make it a little more complicated. So we're waiting for all the particulars on that. So.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. That would be, I think, a lot more helpful if it's less intimidating.
Yeah, and there's no incentive because they're going to get the meal anyway, but then they want us to fill out the more cumbersome form. So it's going to be difficult. So.
Okay. Thank you. That's it.
You're very welcome.
All right, slide 6, if you could go to that. Should we be concerned by the amount of salaries, both certificated and classified, that's within the restricted account? Yeah, I mean, these are one-time funds, right?
They're not all one time, because actually the biggest driver in the restricted side is your special ed staff.
Okay.
So
all right.
it's not, and Title I's also in there. So there's some big dollars. I would say that there are significant dollars in there that are COVID related. All of those positions in the multi-year are included in next year's budget. And then in the following year, our Innovations Academy that was being paid out of COVID is moved into the general fund in that third year. And so any other expenditure, any other position, I should say, that is COVID funded after 22, 23, at least in the multi-year right now, is not budgeted into the general fund. So that would be a decision and discussion that we would obviously have when we prioritize program and staffing. But the positions that were COVID funded, except for Innovations Academy, long-term won't be there after 22, 23.
Okay, so then it's just the Innovations Academy. All right.
Correct.
Okay. And then the other thing, and perhaps, this might be something that we can give our new policy committee to take a look at, some legislative policy, if you will. It's a shame that the district doesn't qualify for the concentration fund. What is the threshold again to qualify for that?
I believe it's 55%.
And where are we?
About 36% as a district. Now, we have individual school sites that are well over that, right?
Yeah.
But because it's an average for the district instead of an individual school,
Yeah.
and we aren't able to access those funds.
I mean, I still think, that, especially given our location of being, 15 miles to the capital, that perhaps FCUSD could take a leadership role in lobbying the legislature and the governor to open up the concentration to the other districts or something. So maybe it's some hybrid that we at least get some funding from it. I'm sure there's some districts that are just on the cusp, but maybe they're at 48 and they don't get it. It seems obviously a very arbitrary number that I guess 50 is the magical number that you need to be at. But maybe that's something that the superintendent, once we figure out the composition of this policy committee, that maybe we could have that conversation and make a recommendation to the board on how maybe the board could take some advocacy position on the concentration.
Yeah, and actually what Mr. Martin said about the increase to the base, and that's what our advocacy groups are actually talking to legislators about right now, is a good solution because that's the least restrictive, and then it would give that additional funding to all districts. There's still a spread between those districts that are in concentration and then those that are not eligible. But I think that's what I've seen in recent advocacy efforts that might have some legs to get some traction. We're working on a letter to send to our legislators, and I sent a draft to the board today, or actually the one that Cal SSD sent to the governor, and we'll customize it for Folsom, Cordova, and I'll send it to the board, and once we get our legislative policy up and going, that would be a great way to review those types of advocacy efforts from Folsom, Cordova.
Excellent. All right. Thank you. All right. Well, let's go out for public comment. No one here. Is there anyone online?
Yes, Mr. Reed, we have one person.
Okay. We have 3 minutes. Go ahead.
Jimmy?
Hi. Obviously, my name's not Jimmy. I'm on my husband's laptop. How are you planning for losing enrollment when the COVID injection becomes mandated or added into the schedule by the legislature? That's one question. Another question I have is the budget meetings, is it open to the public on the budgeting committee? I want to know that. And the third thing was I'm just listening and observing, and it sounds like And, I'm just going to read my comment. I don't know if you guys are aware about the $1 million that was passed this week. So on Tuesday, the County Board of Supervisors, with the exception of one board member, voted yes to accept $1 million for the Sac County Office of Education. The same day, the Sacramento County Office of Education held a meeting to decide whether or not to accept the $1 million. I don't know what the outcome was of the SCOE meeting, but I wanted the board and staff and the public to know that accepting the $1 million has strings attached. And when this money is accepted, the schools are agreeing to continue the COVID protocols without even showing the public that these protocols are safe. I hear that the Surgeon General has said mental health is a crisis for our kids and our youth. I hear you guys talking about mental health challenges in our school district. COVID measures got put in place. Now we have a mental health crisis. And if we accept this money, we're going to continue. We're agreeing to continue with the COVID measures. And it just seems like a cycle, we're messing up staff and students with the COVID measures. And this is my assumption, right? You guys, as the board, I've asked before, can you tell me, can you show me that these measures are safe, that they're not hurting our staff and our students? And I haven't received any evidence of this. So I'm worried that we're going to accept more money. Seems like we're hurting for money already. And with the condition of continuing these measures. And just to read from the CDC, where the money's coming from, it says the recipient must provide to CDC copies and or access to COVID data collected with these funds. The award is contingent upon agreement by the recipient to comply with existing and future guidance that's about COVID-19. So,
All right. I thank the speaker for her comments. I would just want to confirm, Superintendent Kaligian, all of our committee meetings are open to the public, correct?
Yeah. They would be.
It would be?
Yes.
Okay.
And we have the assigned members, so
Right.
it would be an expectation that the assigned members would be there.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any restrictions on any of the committees, Mr. Martin.
Okay. All right. Thank you. All right. Back to the board for any final comments or questions? No? All right. Hearing none. Is there?
I'll just ask really quickly. Sorry, I know I don't want to drag this out, but I do think the speaker brought up a decent point. What we're seeing in districts that have tried to implement the vaccine mandate a little bit earlier is some major enrollment concerns. And so I know that a lot of school districts are raising these concerns to the state at this point. So we'll see what the legislature decides to do. But what is our plan for that? I believe we have to implement in July or something based on the governor's order. So, is there anything built into the projections on that issue at this point, or are we just kind of going to wait and see what the legislature does?
Yeah, at this point for enrollment projection at first interim, I assumed the enrollment numbers coming across. I didn't adjust downward for that with regards to potentially. Now, there may be an influx into Innovations Academy or Walnutwood or our charter homeschool, in which case all of those except for charter the ADA would just move into a different program. So we wouldn't lose any enrollment for that. If they move to the charter, that's a separate fund within the district, but it would be a district. It's just not recognized in the general fund here.
Okay. I think my final comment would just be that, we talked about this free and reduced price lunch form. I would encourage us, as once we get to this point in 6 months or whatever it is, as the governor's order does allow for a personal belief exemption, I think we need to make that a very streamlined process so that we lose as few students as possible on enrollment with that issue. I definitely would love to see kind of the plan as we get a little closer to that for how we plan to roll out that mandate with the exemptions, so that families, if they choose to, can do that, so that we can reduce the impact of the hit on our district as well. So thanks so much.
All right, thank you. All right, do we have a motion to approve the first interim?
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion, but I just want clarification on the motion. It does say that the Board of Education approved the 21-22 first interim report certifying that Folsom Cordova Unified School District will be in a qualified status. Should that be positive?
Definitely.
Okay. I'll make the motion on that with those changes in.
I'll second.
All right. Motion by Mr. Clark, seconded by Mr. Short, and good catch, Mr. Clark, on that. Superintendent, will you take the roll, please?
Yes, Ms. Gao?
Aye.
Mr. Short?
Aye.
Mr. Reed?
Aye.
Mr. Hoover?
Aye.
Mr. Clark?
Aye.
Mr. Hui?
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. Thank you.
All right, we move on to item 12D, approve the certificated assignment under a variable term waiver for the 2021-22 school year. Superintendent, will you introduce the item, please?
Yes, this waiver will allow us to use one of our special ed instructional assistants at Cordova Villa in a position that is a teaching position because this candidate has their bachelor's degree and they're enrolled in an intern program. They'd be teaching the mild moderate class at Cordova Meadows, and this employee agrees to do so. So this waiver allows that to happen for positions that we're short-staffed on.
All right. Any questions from the board? All right, hearing none. Any one online? Yep. Back to the board. Any final comments?
I'll move. Second.
All right, motion by Mr. Hoover, second by Mr. Short. Superintendent, if you
Yes,
call the
Ms.
roll.
Gao?
Aye.
Mr. Short?
Aye.
Mr. Reed?
Aye.
Mr. Hoover?
Aye.
Mr. Clark?
Aye.
Mr. Hui?
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. Thank you.
All right, the next item is 12E, adopt resolution number 12-16-21-20 concerning order of seniority of certificated employees first. Superintendent.
Yes, this annual notice is a routine process that helps us create a seniority list per ed code. The resolution that's included with this item allows us to identify recommended criteria in the order for seniority of the employees who first rendered paid probationary service. We present the resolution at this meeting. The following meeting, we would present the list.
All right, thank you.
Mr. President?
Yes.
Barring that, this is a routine action item, barring that there's no public comment, I'd like to make a motion.
All right, is there any public comment? Hearing none.
I'll second.
All right, motion by Mr. Clark, seconded by Mr. Short. Superintendent.
Yes, Ms. Gao?
Aye.
Mr. Short?
Aye.
Mr. Reed?
Aye.
Mr. Hoover?
Aye.
Mr. Clark?
Aye.
Mr. Hui?
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. Thank you.
All right, item 12F, approve resolution number 12-16-21-21, California School Employees Association early notification of retirement incentive.
Yes, this resolution is one that gives the district the ability to have a one-time early notification of retirement incentive of $1,500 to any CSEA employee who notifies the Human Resources Department by January 14, 2022 of their official request to retire between June 1st and June 30th, 2022.
All right, thank you. Any questions from the board?
Nope.
Nope. And no one online? Nope. Okay, back to the board. Do we have a motion?
I'll move it.
Second.
All right, motion by Mr. Clark, second by Mr. Short. Superintendent.
Ms. Gao?
Aye.
Mr. Short?
Aye.
Mr. Reed?
Aye.
Mr. Hoover?
Aye.
Mr. Clark?
Aye.
Mr. Hui?
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. Thank you.
All right, next item is 12G, approve resolution number 12-16-21-22, Folsom Cordova Education Association early notification of retirement incentive. Superintendent.
Same as our last one, this early retirement incentive allows us to offer that early notification for our FCEA members.
All right, thank you. Any questions from the board? Hearing none, and nothing online.
I'll move.
A motion by Mr. Hoover.
Second.
Second by Mr. Short. Superintendent.
Ms. Gao?
Aye.
Mr. Short?
Aye.
Mr. Reed?
Aye.
Mr. Hoover?
Aye.
Mr. Clark?
Aye.
Mr. Hui?
Aye.
Ms. Gao? I'm sorry, I said that twice. Motion carries 5-0.
All right, moving to item 12H, approve resolution number 12-16-21-23, Folsom Cordova Leadership Association Early Notification of Retirement Incentive. Superintendent.
Yes, this is the same offer that in this resolution for Folsom Cordova Leadership Association of notification of early retirement incentive of $1,500.
All right, I assume no question. Okay, no one online. All right, back to the board. Is there a motion?
Move it. Second.
All right, motion by Mr. Short, seconded by Mr. Hoover. Superintendent.
Yes, Ms. Gow?
Aye.
Mr. Short?
Aye.
Mr. Reed?
Aye.
Mr. Hoover?
Aye.
Mr. Clark?
Aye.
Mr. Hui?
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. Thank you.
All right, next item is 12I, adopt resolution number 12-16-21-18, authorizing execution of delegate agency agreement with the Sacramento Employment and Training Agency. Superintendent.
Yes, this is a collaborative effort between Folsom Cordova Adult School and CETA, which stands for Sacramento Employment and Training Agency. It's a grant that we have engaged over the last 3 years to serve our adults in the community that are identified as refugees or immigrants. And it allows the participants in the program to take English language development classes and to have job opportunities. The principal at the adult school said we have served about 25 participants per year. And the resolution identifies Mr. Martin on the signature line. We had to change that with the change of assistant superintendents. So that's the major change on the resolution.
All right, thank you. Any questions from the board?
Mr. President?
Yes.
I'm not sure who this question is for. I think, Sarah, maybe you can answer this, but I know it's through CETA, but does CETA have any agencies under their umbrella that we're working with?
I asked the question if we partner with any other agencies besides CETA, and Ms. Balmain said no, it's just this one.
Okay.
Was there a specific one you were thinking
So
about?
is it the job center that's on the campus of Walnut Wood Adult Ed? Is that CETA or is that FCCP?
That's FCCP.
Okay, are we working in partnership with them through CETA? Would be the question.
We work with them. I'm not sure if it's through CETA as well. We'd have to find out.
Okay. Could we find out? I mean, I'm just kind of curious.
Can you ask that question, Dr. Huber, of Ms. Balmain? Absolutely. Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just kind of curious to see. I mean, yeah, we've got the numbers through our adult ed, but if the partnership is working under CETA's umbrella, I'd like to know how many folks they have going through their program.
It is? Okay.
It is. So do we know the numbers that they're producing, or can we get data on that?
Other than the 25 per year under this
Other than the
grant?
25?
I'm sure we can.
I'm sure we can get the data.
Okay. All right. I'm not going to make much of it right now, but those are the questions I have.
All right. Any other questions? No? All right, anybody online? All right, back to the board. Is there a motion?
I'll move.
Motion by Mr. Short.
Second.
Second by Mr. Hoover. Superintendent?
Yes, Ms. Gow?
Aye.
Mr. Short?
Aye.
Mr. Reed?
Aye.
Mr. Hoover?
Aye.
Mr. Clark?
Aye.
Mr. Hui?
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. Thank you.
All right, agenda number 8, we're going to temporarily recess the regular board meeting and call to order the Folsom Cordova Schools Financing Corporation annual meeting. Superintendent, will you take the roll call?
Yes. Ms. Gow?
Here.
Mr. Short?
Here.
Here.
Mr. Hoover?
Here.
Mr. Clark?
Here.
Mr. Hui?
Here.
All are accounted for.
All right, I guess I needed to also say a broadcasting is being made at the direction of the board and that the broadcast may capture images and sounds of those attending the meeting. All right, item number 2 on that agenda is approve the minutes of the December 17th, 2020 meeting.
Move
Is
it.
there a motion by Mr. Clark? Is there a
Second.
Second by Mr. Short. Superintendent?
Ms. Gow?
Aye.
Mr. Short?
Aye.
Mr. Reed?
Aye.
Mr. Hoover?
Aye.
Mr. Clark?
Aye.
Mr. Hui?
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
All right, item number 3, status report of project. Superintendent?
There are no status reports that are, and nothing has changed since the previous year, so nothing to report.
All right, thank you. Item number 4, public comment. Do we have any public?
No, Mr. Reed.
All right. Item number 5, corporate officers. The bylaws provide that the officers remain the same as the Board of Education. Superintendent, does that require a motion or not?
Yes.
It does. All
And
right.
so let it reflect that, it reflects the new officer transition that we approved earlier in our regular board meeting.
All right, do we have a motion?
Move it.
Mr. Short? Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second, Mr. Clark. Superintendent?
Ms. Gow?
Aye.
Mr. Short?
Aye.
Mr. Reed?
Aye.
Mr. Hoover?
Aye.
Mr. Clark?
Aye.
Mr. Hui?
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. Thank you.
All right, item 6, any other business?
Not at this time.
All right, we'll adjourn that by acclamation. All right, that moves us back into our reconvene, the regular board meeting. It's item 14, and on to item 15, reports of the Board of Education. Superintendent.
Yes, just a couple of items, just to save the date on your calendar, January 8th board study session. It's a Saturday. We'll be meeting in here. It's open to the public. We'll also be streaming the meeting as well. The time frame that we're looking at is 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. Other announcements, I want to acknowledge Alice Gow, our student board rep, for attending the California School Board Association conference. Right. And her very active involvement as a student rep at the meetings that she attended and the interfacing that she did with job alikes, peer alikes that are serving as student board reps. I know this because we ran into her during the conference. We had dinner together. And after the conference was over, she and I met, and she had a whole list of follow-up questions that are wonderful questions. And we may be seeing some proposals that come from Ms. Gow through Dr. Peace, who's the advisor now for SAB, for maybe growing student participation and voice that we can bring forward to the board. So I'm very excited about that, Alice. Thank you so much for your active involvement and willingness to push, push it to the next level. Really appreciate that. And I also want to congratulate our Folsom Bulldogs for the amazing season that they had, and we got to experience alongside them. Special shout out for their CIF NorCal Division I championship and for their performance at the state championship. Very proud of them. Very glad our cheer squad got to travel with them last week to Southern California as well. And we wish all our winter sports the best as they get going. And wishing everybody happy holidays, stay safe, be well, and come back refreshed and ready to go in January. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Ms. Cow.
I just want to thank, everyone that made it possible, Ms. Campos, for allowing me to go to the CSBA conference. It was definitely very informational, and I learned a lot, have a lot of new ideas, so I really appreciate the opportunity. Other than that, I just want to wish everyone who's still doing finals good luck on their finals, and everyone else happy holidays. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Hui.
Yeah, just want to wish all of our staff and students a wonderful and restful break.
All right, Mr. Short.
I want to say thank you for Alice, too, for all the hard work you've done. And congratulations, President Reed and Mr. Hoover and everybody else is on officers here. So thank you for participating. It's really good. I want to wish everybody a happy holidays. And I'm going to Maui tomorrow. So can you get this over with?
Aloha.
Yeah. But otherwise, thank you very much. That's it.
All right. Mr. Clark.
Got a lot. I want to start off with the CSBA conference. It was great to go to those sessions. And of course, I mentioned last meeting, you're always there to learn new things, and actually did learn a few new things going to those sessions. One of the things that I truly enjoyed was the speaker from the first general session, Dr. Victor Rios, who talked about working with our at-risk students, and he coined it a different way. He didn't coin it at risk. He coined it as at promise. And, with myself working with at-risk youth, it was like, you know what? I've got a different perspective on that now. So, I just really enjoyed his talk, his upbringing. I think he was a Sereno in Oakland and involved in the gang life. And he just remembered his first instructor and how she took him in and told him that he is a promised student and he's going to do big things. And he has. I mean, he's a doctor, an accomplished author. And I mean, it was just inspiring to sit and listen to his talk. Other than that, I had a great time with my colleagues who attended the conference. Our student board member, Alice, it was great to sit next to your mother and talk to her and share my excitement, because that was the same night as the De La Salle game. So I was probably a little rude with my phone in my hand and yelling and saying, all right, and all that stuff. But truly enjoyed the company, and thank you for everything that you're doing. Congratulations to our President, David Reed, our Vice President, Mr. Hoover. Look forward to working with both of you. I want to recognize all of our fall programs. Our Vista football team did really well. Our cross country at Folsom did very well. Hopefully we can recognize them at a future board meeting. Along with our Folsom Bulldogs, and I'm just so incredibly proud of those boys. The day that they played De La Salle, I actually got a call from one of the students on my way to have breakfast with the superintendent, and he said he was a little nervous, but I told him he'll be okay, and my God, those boys pulled it off. And I think, Peter, correct me, that is the first time that De La Salle has been beat by a San Joaquin section team since 1978. That's an accomplishment. So just really proud of those boys. They fought through it and they did well, and it was a great opportunity to fly down and be on the sidelines and root for them in the state championship game. I'll tell you what, these football programs, Cordova's up and coming, Vista's up and coming, and Folsom will be back. So I look forward to watching all of them play next year. So anyway, with that being said, I just wish everyone a happy holiday. I hope you guys take time to, again, unplug. I use my 3 R's, relax, relate, and release during the holiday time, and look forward to seeing you guys after the first of the year.
All right. Let's see, Mr. Hoover.
Thank you. I think this is progress. We were 7+ hours last time. Tonight was only 4, so that's not bad. I'd like to continue building on that. But I just want to say congratulations to Mr. Reed as well. Really look forward to working with you. Echo everything Mr. Clark said. I mean, it was really cool watching that game with my son, who's going to be a future Folsom Bulldog, and he's getting more into football now, so he was super excited, and I talked it up really big, like they haven't lost, and then they lost, which, I kind of overhyped it a little bit, I think, with him, but it was really cool getting to watch with him and just seeing him get so excited about being a future Bulldog, and just so proud of that team for overcoming all the obstacles they did to get to where they got this season. I think that's it for me tonight. Just, enjoy the break. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and look forward to seeing everyone in the new year.
All right, thank you. Actually, I'll be very brief. I promised a couple of students I know that I'd mention Power School and I guess a little bit of its limitations, from what I understand. The students indicated that they do not have access to the app. So the app that does push notifications on grades and homework. So unlike the parents that get the push notifications, I guess the students don't. So I don't know if that's something that is even possible technology-wise, or if there's some type of restriction that's preventing that from happening. But if there is a way that we could work with PowerSchool to try to get the students to have access to the app so they can get the push notifications, that might alleviate some consternation among families between their parents and the students. Although they can log on their computer. But all right, let's see. That's all I have. So just want to wish those who are Jewish, I hope they had a very happy Hanukkah, Merry Christmas, and Happy Kwanzaa, and Happy New Year. So if there's no objection, we will adjourn the meeting by unanimous consent. Hearing none, meeting adjourned.